just to get people, I guess, caught up with what's going on here. This is our first video podcast. This is an interesting situation that we're in. But how we got here is less important than how we ended up on a podcast with Josh. So, Josh, well, you tell us, Josh, what your experience from the word go of sport jiu-jitsu is, or wherever you started until now, basically.
Yeah. So I started Jiu Jitsu in 2012. That's when I took my first class. There was a little club that I had known about for a little while in the town that I was in when I was in university. So I grabbed one of my buddies and we went and I broke 2 ribs. And so that was my very first introduction to jiu-jitsu was that experience right there. And I remember I had known what jiu-jitsu is, and I'd been doing some like kickboxing up until that point. And so I was like, yeah, I would absolutely want to learn like some ground game, and yeah, went right into it, broke 2 ribs, and was like, okay, I'm not going to do that again for a little while. And so I came back to it at the end of 2013 and started training at that place again, actually. And yeah, I would just keep getting like little tweaks like in my elbows and like my knees, and the ribs is like that's a reoccurring injury for me, actually. But God, I loved it. It was crazy. I'm a small guy myself, and the instructor there was actually a really small guy too, and he was just manhandling these big dudes, and it was just so exciting. I was like, I want to be able to do that too. Like it feels like you're giving power back to the little guy, right? Like literally. And so I'd been training there for a little while, and I ended up traveling to South Korea in 2015, and I had already like found some places that I wanted to train. And so I knew like where I was going to be in the gym that I wanted to go to. And I showed up there. And I trained I got to South Korea in September of 2015. And on Halloween, it's about a month later, the instructor was showing this technique, and I don't even remember what happened because it just happened like in a split second. He kind of like snapped me down, and I was standing in a pile of sweat, and his weight and my weight came right down on my hand, and like I tore a ligament like right here in my thumb.
Just first class ever. Same thing.
Yeah, you too? Man.
Yes, first class.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I mean, I was like a month into living in a foreign country, barely spoke the language, and now like my right hand is crippled. And so I waited for that to heal up a little bit, and I just kept going at it and everything. And then I'd say probably about like 4 to 5 months later, I tore my MCL and my meniscus on just another freak accident. Just snapped. And my now wife, we were friends back during that time, was just like ripping into me like, why do you even enjoy this? Like you've torn 3 things since I've known you, and I've known you a very short time. And so then I ended up meeting, while I was in a brace trying to recover from the knee injury, I ended up meeting my now best friend, who I'm doing the Matt Dad's podcast with. His name is Dave. I met him while I was in a brace, and we started training. Actually, he started training at Gracie. So his first experience to jiu-jitsu was at Gracie. And so we would just kind of like roll, just the 2 of us, kind of like positional sparring stuff, keeping it like really light, because I was pretty injured. And as I was healing, we'd go to all these different gyms. We went to like a 10th Planet Korea, trained there for a while, and a few other like smaller gyms and everything. And so I just kept hurting like my knee over and over. You know, I just couldn't get to a point where I felt like I wasn't in danger. Like every time I would go to class, I'd be like hyped that, oh yeah, here we go, we're doing another day of jiu-jitsu. But in the back of my mind, I was just, man, am I gonna get hurt again? You know, like is this the day? Is today the day that is gonna take me off the mats forever? You know, um, and so I ended up coming back to America in 2019, and I hadn't really trained since then until actually this year, because you know I was like, hey, we're starting a family. Like I really got to start taking care of myself and you know things of that nature. So I started training about 2 months ago at a MMA gym, and I love it. It's been so much fun, and like the people there are awesome. But just after class, I'm just hurting, just really really hurting, and I just keep questioning like, oh man, is this going to be the day that I get hurt? And then I think it was about a week and a half ago, we did a takedown class, and afterwards, like I could not walk because my knee was just so flared up, and so I've been kind of rehabbing it, and it's luckily it's starting to feel better, you know. But that's kind of led me down to the path where I am now, which is like, okay, obviously you really enjoy jujitsu because you know you've been at it for such a long time and been getting hurt over and over, and you're still just asking for more, you know. But is it in your best interest to keep training like this? You know, like, am I going to get to the point where I'm so hurt that one, I can't train anymore, and then two, like I can't even defend myself or my family, you know, or I have to use means that are, you know, going to end up biting me in the butt later on, you know, through like lawsuits and things to defend myself, you know, like escalating beyond what is actually necessary to defend myself. Um, you know, and at the same time, it's like you also don't know when you're going to need to defend yourself. I've been thinking about this a lot recently. Like, it could be tomorrow that I need to defend myself, or it could be when I'm 70 years old. And if I am broken within the next 10 years, completely broken, there's no way I can defend myself when I'm 70.
There it
So,
is.
yeah, I've been like, I need to rethink. I need to rethink my life, you know?
So what was the takedown the when you got hurt recently?
Yeah, it was just double leg takedowns, you know? And I mean, shoot, we did it probably 100 times each leg, each side, you know. And when you're doing a double leg, you know, your knee is just so far over your toes. There's just so much pressure in your knee. And yeah, the knee that I injured is still obviously not 100% yet. So that was,
What would you say if I told you you could do that double leg takedown and then not use any energy or power or thrust or any of that, but rather just use the spring, the natural spring that our bodies can create? That would be interesting, right? If
yeah,
every one of those scenarios where you were hurt, there was there was a way to go about it where it would have resulted in the technique playing out and nobody being hurt. So that's a very interesting situation that you keep getting hurt. And it's my experience that I did get hurt a few times. And like I said, my hand, that injury was one of the worst in jujitsu that I've had. There was another where I had Roger to wrist lock me for some reason. And that was a pretty bad one. That one lasted for about a month and a half, 2 months. And I still taught class with that thing on.
Did the brace.
Yeah, the brace, the thing. And I also wrapped it up in with this contraption so I couldn't move it, but I could still make this happen. So, but it was a dumb move from the get go. The whole thing was stupid. But I can tell you that from my experience, the reason that I kept getting hurt is that I cared, that I cared about what happened, if I did the technique right, if I won or lost, that I cared to give my partner the best like partner possible or do the best that I could, that I cared so much that I was like overexerting or I was trying so hard. and then or like I want to really find this out. And none of it was like that important. The only thing that was important was that I showed up and intentionally did everything possible to not get hurt. There's a conundrum there, that how can you put yourself under pressure, under fire, under stress, under like all this attack, and then still not be at risk for some kind of something? Like, how can you help it if they throw your leg an awkward way and it twists your body and hurts your rib? Or how can you do anything about it if they twist your head really hard in a certain position, or put pressure down in an awkward position that just hurts your neck or fingers or something like that? Well, if your number one goal is, I'm not going to get hurt at all, I'm going to do whatever's going to happen today. I'm going to make sure that me being hurt is impossible, so that somebody tries to get around my guard. And it's a serious struggle before it gets to the point where I'm going to get hurt. I'm just going to let them pass. Or if they're like just doing ungodly pressure, then at some point I might tap. If they are twisting my head like crazy, I will definitely tap and then ask to roll with somebody else. Because somebody that cares about your well being isn't going to do anything to actually hurt you.
Mm-hmm.
And you can turn down rolls with everybody if you think somebody is going to hurt you, or that their intention is to hurt you. Nobody's intention should, in a jiu-jitsu class, in a Gracie Jiu Jitsu class, nobody's intention is to harm anybody else. It's just to make them better. So if we're all trying to make each other better, and we are specifically ourselves trying to not get hurt, then the third thing can be, now I'm going to try to defeat other people and not be defeated. Number one, stay safe. Number two, help everybody else. Number three, care about winning and losing. And if there's at some point in jiu-jitsu, it does cross a boundary, or it crosses a line where you can pretty much just go completely wild, as hard as you can possibly go, and not fear or risk any kind of pain or danger or twisting of the neck or something like that. That I would say at this point, both Roger and I actually rolled the other day in a very solid intensity on carpet. So, very, very explosive, purple belt winning tournaments, very, very explosive. And me, as hard as I can possibly go on carpet, and nobody gets hurt. So that wouldn't be possible if both of us weren't concerned the whole time about not hurting the other person.
Mm-hmm.
The end result of this, before I shut up, the end result of this is, I'm fully aware of how not to hurt the person that I'm rolling with, which means I'm 100% just as aware of how to hurt them. So learning down this path of don't injure, help everybody, really put you in a spot, if you choose to really injure and really hurt. But that wouldn't be our goal unless things really got out of control. But to have that as an option is what people are thinking of when they're thinking, I'm going to go train jiu-jitsu to be able to win fights. Well, they're thinking about it in a kind of backwards way, but it's still the same result, that you would be able to go hard and win fights. It's just a different method to get there. You can either do it off the backs of your training partners, like tapping and defeating everybody in your class, and then you got like a tally sheet in your mind, like, I beat him twice, beat him once, he tapped me today, so we're gonna roll again, and I'm gonna really go hard. Got him twice. And if you're doing this, then you're really kind of just destroying the people around you, hurt their ribs, hurt their neck, they're doing that off of at your expense, but no harm, no foul, because that's the culture.
Mhm.
So that is probably one of the most biggest changes between sportive jujitsu that you would have seen the other day, especially, and Gracie combatives or Gracie Jiu Jitsu, is that everybody is super concerned with you as the new person and very concerned about you seeing the most dangerous places you can be as far as people that are punching. And I think you told me that it was your first class there, right?
Mhm.
And the instructor made a point to put you on the bottom. The instructor there, Johnny, was it Johnny himself that put you under the mount?
Mhm. Yep.
So the instructor, by the way, just for knowing, I don't know how much into our podcast that you've gotten, but have you heard the one where my instructor mounted me and then kind of ruthlessly put the knuckles to me?
No, I haven't heard that.
So that's a very good story. But suffice to say, so at this point, I was either about to be a brown belt or a brown belt in like self defense, Gracie Jiu Jitsu, people punching all the time. And my instructor grabbed me and another guy who Roger had the chance to roll with. Is very, very good, like very good.
Tough guy.
And my instructor held us both down and just punched all these techniques that y'all probably you did the punch block variation of the trap and roll, right?
Mhm. Yep.
So I tried that technique really hard. I
Mhm.
tried like 5 other techniques. I tried all these techniques and they failed for me in my mind for like 20 minutes. We heard the other day from the instructor, it was like, what did he say? Like 20 seconds or something like that?
10 seconds. You got it on 10 seconds.
10 seconds. But in my mind, it felt like I was there for like 10 minutes.
Yeah, that's wild.
Because the thought was, I can't get out. Like I'm really
Yeah.
trying to get out and I can't get out. So it's a crazy experience to be there trying your hardest and not able to go anywhere. But had you seen that variation of the trap and roll before that class, or was that the first time?
Ironically, I had seen it before, and that was when like everything just kind of like clicked for me actually in that moment. I'll just speak on that whole exchange there because I think that was almost like the peak of my jujitsu experience in a way, like at least a turning point. This exact moment was my turning point. I think um, it was my first combatives class, and the instructor pulled me aside, and he knows that I had done some jujitsu, right? And so he was like, he was essentially like, "Hey, is it okay if I mount you?" And so we went over, like, okay, go ahead and escape the mount. And so I was able to do it, and then he was like, "Hey, do you mind if I like pretend to punch you and see how that goes?" Um, and well, actually, he asked. Let me rewind. He was like, "Okay, if I was on mountain trying to punch you, like, what would you do to defend yourself?" And so I was like, I would probably try and like grab the arms, try and like get some control of your arms, And I was like, wait a minute. Oh man, I've been doing jujitsu for a little while, and like I kind of don't really know exactly what I would do actually, because no gym I've ever been to has ever incorporated punches in the jujitsu class, and so we kind of like went through that, and he was like, okay, try to escape the mount while I'm punching, and that exact experience of what you just said like resonated so much because I was trying to defend the punches and escape at the same time, and it just was not happening. It really was. It was not going to happen. Like I could not do both at the exact same time with what I knew. Um, and so then he showed me that punch block variation of the trap and roll, and I was like, man, everything just kind of like came together. I was like, even though I've been training jujitsu, and you read on Reddit all these people that are like, oh yeah, Gracie Jiu Jitsu is no different than normal jujitsu. You know, even with the sport jujitsu, I'd be totally fine because, you know, we roll at like such high intensity, you know. But if your gym, like all of the gyms that I've ever been to, has never gone over any type of self-defense with punches or done any live rolls with punches, man, I had no idea what to do. I really didn't. And yeah, like it was probably like five, maybe 10 seconds of me attempting to both escape the mount and block the punches at the same time. And it felt like so long. It felt like minutes had gone by, you know, and he wasn't even hitting me, but I was imagining in my mind, like, yo, what if he was actually like hitting me full force in the face, you know? And I just heard Mike Tyson in my head, everybody got a plan till they get hit in the face, you know? And so I was like, okay, my main goals with having done jujitsu in the first place, like, yes, jujitsu is fun, but especially now, you know, now that I have a family and I have a child and a responsibility to not only defend myself, but my family, especially now, I'm realizing like my goals with jujitsu have changed immediately in this instant. And this was like 1 minute of this exchange. My entire goals of jujitsu has totally changed. So
So
yeah,
did your mind then at some point go to the kind of to the position of every bad spot you've ever been in? Like some big guy has held you down against your will in a sport class. And, you know, no big deal. It sucks, but it's like, I know that he's going to let me out here in a second. The bell's going to go off and everything's all good. But from every one of those spots, if that guy just went nuts and just started hitting me, really, I don't know what to do at all. Like, no answer at all to any of that. So, not only was that position bad that you were in, it was potentially deadly. And nobody ever told you. If they did, it would have been, they would have had to go down that road. Like, hey, watch out right there. You can get punched in the face really bad. Well, if, okay, how? What do I do? Now we're going to start going down that road. So either they're going to go down that road or they're not at all.
yeah.
And we're of the opinion that if the instructor knows the self-defense answer to that question and doesn't share it with you, it's almost like a sin. And here's why. Because if you're in a position and let's say it's uh, close guard and the person has postured up to start their pass, I'm sure they showed you something about that in those sport jiu-jitsu classes, right?
Like how to pass when they posture up or what to do.
Well, just that people want to posture that are on top, people
Yeah.
want to posture, and on the bottom, you want to break their posture. So there's an obligation right there to say the reason, not only there's a sportive reason that we want to break their posture, but because they have created space, then they can use that space to create damage. If you don't tell them that, then their only knowledge from there is going to be what you give them and what they create themselves. So what you create yourselves is, you know, you people tell themselves that they could like punch somebody and like I would just knock his head like 2 inches to the left. I would break his neck. If I punched him, I would knock all his teeth out. Or I could kick a hole right through a human being's body. Crazy stuff. But people believe crazy stuff about themselves. So you got that, and you got whatever sport jiu-jitsu that you learned and the stuff that you did when you rolled. None of that will address the person that has no other goal than to reach for your face with their hands as hard as they possibly can. If they have another goal, then if they have another physical goal, then we can call that sport jiu-jitsu because they're doing something besides punching. If they're grabbing or squeezing or controlling, now your jujitsu is going to kind of play a role. But until then, the only things that it will help you with is the explosiveness, um, experience with another person that's acting chaotically, um, pushing your body to a limit that a lot of people don't get as an adult. Like adults are not familiar with wrestling around with other adults that much,
Mm-hmm.
or fighting for that matter. So it's just unfamiliar stuff. But if you're not dealing with somebody reaching for your face, then you're not dealing with reality. That's the point of the whole thing. So I really wanted to make sure that we get into any questions that you have for Roger or I about anything jiu-jitsu related, not anything in the whole world. That's the thing that we're the best at in the world, is answering questions.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, to be honest, most of my questions are, probably in regards to the experience of training, at a Gracie gym, and what that experience is like. Because I everything that I know about training at a Gracie gym is either from my friend Dave or what Reddit talks about. And I think we all know that Reddit has a lot of bad things to say about, Gracie University, Gracie Academy. Um, and so, yeah, I mean, not a whole lot of it is talked about. So I am like pretty curious about just kind of how things work. Like, for example, like what are the master cycle classes like?
Well, Roger and I both, our most recent experience is training with a Helson and Helson affiliate school. So our self-defense lineage, and Roger through me, our lineage is a little bit different than the Gracie Academy. I've done Gracie Combatives and the Master Cycle.
Mm-hmm.
Roger's experience is a little bit different. He's done Combatives and started the Master Cycle, but not at a Gracie Academy. Now, so our experience is a slight bit different. I can tell you that I know how the classes are run as far as the master cycle classes, because they're ran the same way that the combatives classes are ran. Exactly the same, nothing changes. The emphasis on combatives is like 100% self-defense.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, the emphasis at a Helson school, for example, or Roger and I training with you, it would be 100% self-defense, but we would absolutely address, like I said the other day to you, absolutely address a jiu-jitsu savvy opponent who is not committed to punching as much as they are committing to defeating us in jiu-jitsu. So we have to be able to address that person. So we do address more sportive techniques and scenarios, as Helson does as well. More so than I think the Gracie Academy does. The Blue Belt Stripe 1 techniques are all the responses to the combatives techniques. So literally one at a time. It's like the trap and roll. Well, the technique to defeat the trap and roll. The Americana arm lock, the technique to defeat the Americana arm lock, and it just goes down the line. There is an area at the end where the Stripe 1 techniques become nothing but self-defense, and it's like a gun takeaway or a club defense, techniques like this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if it's in Stripe 1, Roger, we talked about this a while ago, or Stripe 2, but that intimidation approach technique is in there somewhere. So there's a lot of techniques that are like zero to do with slap, bump, roll, that kind of stuff. And it's like people standing up and talking and this whole thing, like Huston likes to do this. Yeah, that thing And the reason is that his hands are already up and Helson is ready to fight all the time. So he's expecting to do these little chicken arm things. This is a whole series of techniques. But this, like we're already hands up, this whole thing. These are techniques that we talk about and learn, and just like those. Hey, we're gonna today we're gonna learn a half guard pass, or today we're gonna learn how to do an arm lock from the guard. Both those are very excellent techniques, but to get to the guard or to get to that either of those techniques, there has to be a whole like A, B, C, D, E, F, and then you're in that spot. And if you don't have the answers to all those A, B, C, D, E, F, then it's like opportunity to get your teeth knocked out, opportunity to get your teeth knocked out, opportunity just the whole way down. So it's just a real fight is just so much more risky, and therefore the defenses are way more quiet. They're way more less flashy. But your original question was about the combatives classes. I think that once you get to combatives, that you'll be so familiar with. I'm sorry, the master cycle. Once you get to the master cycle, that you'll have built up such a kind of repetitious mindset that the only thing that will change between the two is that at the end of um, combatives, at some point they will start having you go from simulation to rolling. And that little transition right there is the big thing that changes. In sport jiu-jitsu schools and your MMA school, I bet, I don't know, but Roger and I trained at a MMA jiu-jitsu MMA school for a long time as well. You'd be rolling on the first day. Was that your experience, or was it a little bit later?
Yeah, everywhere I've been, we've been rolling on the first day. Everywhere.
And white, like people fresh in the door, rolling with people that are fresh in the door or blue belts or whatever.
Yeah. Well, not everywhere I've been. I highly doubt the majority of places I've been would put two fresh people in the door together. That seems very irresponsible.
Yeah, super risky. Now at the Gracie Academy or Gracie University the other day, they didn't have you do any kind of rolling or anything like that, right?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, so even if you express interest in rolling, what I've been told in the past is, well, we have a rolling class, like a specific time that you can come and roll. It's not going to be like we do 40 minutes of class and the end is rolling like it is classically at a sport jiu-jitsu school.
Mm-hmm.
But rather it'll be like all technique, and then some other day we'll roll, or later on in the night there's a rolling class. Josh, had you heard of the Valente brothers before?
Actually, no. Mm-mm.
To this very moment?
Yeah, no, that doesn't ring a bell to me.
So the Valente brothers, and I'm not adding anything to the podcast. So I was just telling them about the Valente brothers. So the Valente brothers are this group of three brothers in Miami that grew up with Helson, Hoyce, like the generation of the oldest kids of Elio Gracie into like the middle group, but not the end, like the oldest in the middle. So they're in that kind of jujitsu mentality, which was very fight oriented, very, I want to say aggressive, but more confrontational, which is both Roger and I's lineage. Like we're right in there in that same lineage. It's a little bit outside of the Gracie Academy. They're more like we'll talk it out kind of deal. and that's fantastic. That's exactly what you should do.
Mm-hmm.
But there is Elio Gracie at some point in his life was like, well, we're going to invite people over and then break their arm and then knock their teeth out. And then he changed at some point. He was like, well, now we're going to make people into jiu-jitsu blue belts. At some point, he was like, we're going to let's create a sport. So he had different kind of viewpoints along his life. And we fall into the category where he was kind of aggressive and more confrontational. So you'll see that a little bit more probably from us, that we're quicker to kind of respond than the Gracie Academy would be. They would destroy the person regardless, but they're very like go with the flow kind of mentality. But the Valente brothers are along this same kind of ilk, that they're ready to defend jiu-jitsu. They've got a challenge match, exactly like, the old school challenge matches. They've had challenge matches in the past few years, and you can even look up one of those challenge matches online. So yeah, they're a really awesome branch of the tree. Two different branches, but exactly the same kind of stuff. So they're another good one to look into.
Okay.
Now,
Check that out. I'm gonna write that down.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll send you that name. We're gonna have the oldest of the three. We've been talking to him for like a couple of months, it seems like, about coming onto the show. I've talked to him probably like 5 or 6 times, but hopefully that we'll get him onto the show this week as well. But
that sounds like that would be a good episode.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Also, what JV Jiu Jitsu is a good YouTube channel.
What is it? JV?
Yep. Javier Vasquez.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Third tree. That's a third branch off the tree through Carlson, more or less.
Okay.
Javier Vasquez, he comes through Carlson, and he told us that the difference between Carlson and Elio Gracie, their jiu-jitsu mentality, the way they talk, their mindset is, Carlson never told them one time you might get your guard pass, or what'll happen if you get your guard passed, or defenses from that position. It's just like, we're going to fight so hard that they're not going to pass our guard. We're going to fight so hard that if they do pass it, then we're going to explode and get up. So Elio's very different in that he's like, if they passed your guard, no big deal. We're still rolling. We're still fighting. Then we'll just defend from there. We'll just be very safe, manage the distance, keep our elbows really tight, whatever the case is. But that's a very interesting differentiation, that Carlson was very, you're not going to get your guard pass because we're going to train to prevent that. Elio was very, the day's going to come where you cannot stop it. So now what? And right at the beginning, you were saying that what if you get into a fight when you're 70? Or you, God forbid, get sick or deal with cancer or deal with some other kind of illness where your physical capabilities are cut down by 50% or more, right? You're dealing with chemotherapy or something like this. People that pick fights don't pick them with like the biggest, toughest looking dude. They're going after the people that look like they can steal from or tell what to do. It doesn't matter if it's a kid or an adult. They think that they're going to have their way with that person. So what if you're 70 years old? The techniques that you learn in sport jiu-jitsu are about kind of butting heads, and whoever butted the hardest is probably going to win that little exchange. When you're 70, maybe 80, you can't really butt heads. So it's just going to be getting your head butted over and over and over, and how to deal with getting your head butted. That's a very self-defense train of thought It's called the survival mindset. Have you ever heard of that?
I've heard of that, not in terms of jujitsu, or I perhaps have heard of it in terms of like defensive jujitsu, but
Yeah,
always in regards to like sport, though.
yeah. Any survival and mindset, two words.
Yeah, yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I mean? So, but as far as the way that we think and Elio Gracie thought, and we heard a very good kind of what would you say this is, an analogy, Roger, about the island? Is it an analogy?
It was like yeah, I would say so. Yeah, it was like he was comparing fighting to being on an island for a specific amount of time, like one day, versus I'll come get you at some point, but you might be on the island for a while.
So yes, so the survival mindset, how it changes, and I think we can add in something that we said, like discussed the other day, Roger. The reality TV show Survivor. Are you familiar with that, Josh? That show?
Yeah.
So it appears that people are on some island somewhere, and that they're kind of they're fending for their lives. Of course, it's a TV show, so nobody thinks that they're really out there, and they could get struck by lightning or attacked by an animal or anything really is going to happen. I mean, stuff does happen, but for the most part, it's the facade of danger, the facade of surviving, right? As opposed to, what if Roger and I have an island that is like 100,000 miles out in the middle of the ocean, and we take you to that island and we drop you off in the island, and we say, hey, I'm not sure really what's out there or when I'll be back or if I'll even be back ever, but have a good time. And then we speed off, and there you are by yourself. Survivor versus that's sport jiu-jitsu versus self-defense.
Interesting.
The image of survival versus actual survival. How you deal with it in reality is not possibly how you deal with it in this time limit, rules, all these things. If you run out of food, they're going to bring you a little bit of food. Or if you drink all your water, they're not going to let you just die of thirst. But if you're on that island for real and we just left you there, and you come across like a coconut, you're going to treat that coconut different than if you're going to be saved in like 8 hours or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the survival mindset. How do you use jujitsu and apply those techniques and philosophies with that mindset attached? And that encompasses Elio Gracie Jiu Jitsu. That's the whole thing. That's what we are like espousing. Elio Gracie Jiu Jitsu. This thing is different from the other. Sport Jiu Jitsu, Survivor, the island, self defense are two different things. What are some, any kind of new guy questions or anything that you can think of? Is there anything that you can think of, Roger? We can also think of some stuff I know that will come up that he maybe hasn't came across yet as far as self-defense goes.
Well, I'm trying to evaluate like how long you've been training. Like I know you had breaks in between, but how many, like how long you've been on the mats? Like if you take out all the breaks, like how many months or years total have you been training?
I mean, I would say it's in between 1 and 2 years on the mat, but closer to 1 year than 2.
Oh, okay.
It's really hard for me to tell, to be honest, because of like, so much time off in between, and like you lose so much when you're off. Like you don't use it, you lose it, kind of a thing. So I feel like I'm just starting over brand new every time I come in, and like you get in positions and you're like, oh yeah, I'm kind of like comfortable here, but like, oh shoot, what was I supposed to do?
Right.
If that makes sense.
Totally.
Yeah.
How many have you rolled with blue belts, purple purple belts,
Oh
brown
yeah,
belts?
I've rolled with every color.
What was that experience like the first time that you rolled with a jujitsu savvy person?
Oh my god, like that was the best feeling in the world because I know exactly what you're talking about. I know exactly what you're saying when you're saying that you can roll with someone and you can tell whether they have everyone's interest in getting better as their first priority or if their interest and priority is just defeating you. I know what that feels like because every time I've gotten hurt in a roll, it's because I've rolled with people who have been trying to, kill me and add that tally to like, oh yeah, I've gotten him 1, 2, 3, 4 times. And are we recording, by the way?
Yeah, we're recording.
Okay. So, that's like sometimes that's gym culture, and that, so for example, my first time back, actually, I travel a lot for work. And when I was in the middle of a trip, I saw that there was a 10th Planet gym like right around the corner. And I was like, yo, I've trained at 10th Planet before. It was a great experience. I was like, this is going to be great. Like my first time back, I'm going to get smashed, but I feel like I'm going to learn. Um, I'm going to learn something. And I go there and I tell you, like, first of all, I was the smallest dude there and everyone there was out to kill me.
Ooh,
Absolute, like brand new like that's my trial lesson. And there, like, I was shocked. I was genuinely shocked at how aggressive everyone was, and my buddy Dave, he trains at a 10th Planet gym near him every once in a while. And he says he calls that gym as like default aggressive. Like their default is just aggressive. Um, and so like, my first time back this year, my first class back, I popped 2 ribs out of my sternum because like these dudes were just so big and they put everything into me that they possibly could. And I was just like, oh my God, like I'm right back. It's like God's trying to tell me something, man.
10th Planet.
Genuinely. Do what?
I was gonna say shout out to 10th Planet because I trained a couple of years at 10th Planet San Antonio, and Joey you went to one class whenever you came to visit me that one time. Would you say that they're pretty aggressive up there?
They're here's the thing is that we have it we call it two different things that mean the same thing: sport driven and win driven. If the person that you're rolling with is win driven, then everything matters. Everything that they attempt, they're going to do it 100%. So if they're like figure fouring, I have a perfect memory of being figure forward, like the held in the position that they're going to bend the arm like this. And that being held like that was one of the top 3 or 4 tightest, like most solid held that I've ever been, because I was doing all my little things and defense and wiggling out, and I was genuinely stuck. I couldn't go anywhere. So aggressive for sure, because nobody knows what belt anybody is. So everybody is of the opinion that I'm going to crush this person right here. And that's the culture. That's the culture. There's not people that go there are going there knowing, most likely. Some aren't for sure, but most are. Roger knew when he went there that that's what he was going to get, and that's what he wanted, to be
That's what I
attacked.
wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now I went a different route, but my academy to start with is very soft and very ease, like just kind of get the car rolling and then moving a little bit faster, a little bit faster. Now we're going downhill a little bit faster. And then all of a sudden, 6 months, 8 months, you're on fire for jujitsu. And it's just like a train that's out of control, just barreling. So the intensity at the beginning, probably, I would say. Now, I'm not trained there like Roger has, but I would say that just the intensity is probably continual, never ending, intense, go hard, win.
Well, you built me up though. So whenever I went there, I was already a blue belt, almost a purple belt, right? And so I knew how to deal with like super aggressive, wind-driven, sport-driven opponents. So I would just get caught and like just tap early and use Gracie Jiu Jitsu because that's all I knew, and it just worked out. Plus, I'm a big guy. I'm like 6'3". I think I was like 250, 260 training up there. So
yeah, but that wouldn't be the same for me necessarily. If I showed up, didn't know anything, I would probably get dominated to the point that I might quit, or I might think jujitsu is not for me.
Yeah.
Because the intensity is too hard. But that's where it matters how you deal with new people. If you treat everybody like they're showing up for self-defense, that they want to get better at jiu-jitsu, they're not there to defeat people, they're just there to learn. Even if they're there for the wrong reasons, that everybody rises with the tide. Like when the tide rises, everybody goes up. And the same can be said for people that are going hard, that are wind driven. When that's the culture, then some people rise to the top, and then the other people go sink to the bottom. So you will get better no matter where you train, as long as they do jujitsu. You just might get hurt, you might get your neck tweaked or whatever. If you do train at a Gracie Academy or Gracie University or Helson affiliate, or train with Roger or I, then you're going to get pushed to that same intensity, pushed to that same spot, but by somebody that only cares about your well-being. So it sounds like that's where you're at now with the Gracie University.
Yeah.
It's Gracie Academy for like years with me. So
is it changed to like Gracie University? Is that what they call it now, rather than Gracie Academy?
Okay. Yeah. When Hiron and Henner bought the academy from their dad, the Gracie Academy LLC, they changed that LLC to Gracie University, so that there is no more Gracie Academy. It's Gracie University.
I see.
And now they license, or they I don't know how that works exactly, Roger, maybe you know more, but they use this affiliate model where they can certify schools in just whatever they are like knowledgeable of. They've passed what they need to. Let's say it's the person has done combatives, they've passed, and they have passed the instructor certification program. They're level 1 certified training center, and they can teach that and that alone.
Mm-hmm.
If they have passed, like stripe 1, whatever it is, then they can teach the women empowered, bully proof, and the first element of the master cycle. So that's kind of the model that they use. Like I said, we're not in that whole situation. That's Gracie University.
Mm-hmm.
But every chance we get, we tell people, if you're not able to train with Scott Phillips, that's number one. If you're not able to train with him, then you should train with me or Roger. Now, Roger or I will kind of disagree on this. I say, if you can't train with Scott Phillips, then you need to train with Roger or I. And if you can't train with us, then you need to train with Gracie University. I think you would probably say, Roger, it's the other way around, right? Scott, Gracie University, and then us.
I mean, I guess if there's a certified Gracie training center, and you listed it's a level 4, like that's perfect. I mean, you're at the best. You're in the best spot to be at the best.
right?
That's like the best in the area. Like how many minutes does it take to get over there?
Unfortunately, about 30. It's not.
Yeah, are you
not
coming
that
from
bad,
Euless? Or?
No.
Oh, what city are you in?
I'm in Fort Worth.
Fort Worth. Okay, so that's like in between, right? Like I'm from Dallas, so like
Okay.
that's
Yeah.
like north DFW area, right? In between Fort Worth and Dallas, I think.
Yeah. It's almost
Okay.
like right in the middle.
But still, that's way closer than Wiley at.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Actually, it's funny. I used to run EMS very close to Wiley, so I'm very familiar with Wiley. And I think actually when I reached out to y'all, I just finished the podcast with Scott Phillips, and man, that was such a good podcast. By the way, just FYI, that was such a good one. And I was like, oh, dude, I gotta go play. I gotta go find a way to go train at this place. I thought both of y'all were training there as well, so I was like, oh, it'd be great. That's like a triple whammy, you know.
Yeah.
If you decide to go there, we will go.
That would be awesome. Yeah, we got to make that happen at some point for sure. That would be really cool. I would definitely enjoy that.
Well, if you were only able to go there randomly, somehow by yourself, and you tell them that I sent you, then it might go one of two ways. They might, no. They would be very, very welcoming. They would be very welcoming, and they would treat it exactly like we would treat it. He would do that times 10. So, I mean, you could tell on that podcast that he's absolutely as legit as you can possibly be. We did a follow-up episode that you haven't heard yet.
Okay.
Part 2. That was like almost 3 hours long.
Nice.
I went into kind of stuff. I was asking him about, did he ever, like that first podcast was crazy. I was asking about how he thought I would do if I was transported into the UFC.
Yeah, that was a really interesting, actually.
Yeah, can you imagine? Because now he's talking about this guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he said people would think that's crazy because now that you see, this is the freaking Jiu Jitsu Robot. Hang on, look at that. Look at that, Roger.
That is
Oh, there you go.
That's me. I'm the Jiu Jitsu Robot. Well, I mean, there's no possible way that I could do anything in the UFC. Hoist was in good shape. He was a black belt in Jiu Jitsu. Now we're talking about me, old guy, brown belt in Jiu Jitsu. You know, been in better shape for sure. Would this guy be able to do anything in the UFC? Well, according to Scott Phillips, absolutely. If you do Gracie Jiu Jitsu the right way, it doesn't matter if it's me, Roger, you, all of us could have done it. We just need to use Jiu Jitsu the way that Hoist used Jiu Jitsu. And you're only going to get that from Scott, from me, from Gracie University, Helson, people like that. Now, that kind of sounds egotistical, does it? You're only going to get the good stuff from this little group of people. Well, if it's true, if you tell someone, if you don't drink water, if you drink nothing at all, then you're going to live just like you would otherwise. You're not going to have any problems at all. You can also eat like 10 to 12 spoonfuls of salt. You're going to be fine. Well, you just told that person a lie. They're not going to be fine. They're going to suffer greatly. So if you tell them the opposite, you need to drink water every single day. Like water, the quality of the water matters. If you drink muddy, dirty water, then you're not going to be as healthy as if you drink clean water. You're just saying things that you believe is 100% true. And that's what we do, is tell it the way that we see it from our experience, which has been very close to the source. So I've trained with Hedon Gracie. I mean, I sent you that message. Hedon Gracie, bunch of different dudes. Scott Phillips being the top of the list, but people that you would know: Hidon Gracie, Helson Gracie, Scott Rogers trained with Helson as well. So we've had the chance to ask these people what the truth is and to get to the bottom of the question. So there are answers to all these questions. We've had the chance to get to the bottom of them. So it's not just two dudes talking crap. It's two people that are telling a rendition of the history that we've experienced, and questions that have been asked before, answers given in the past, etc. So egotistical, maybe, but is that tied in with reality? Does the truth matter? I would say yes, it does. Roger, any questions for Josh?
I just wonder what part of town you're in, because it looks like there's a couple places like pending certification. There's one in Western Hills. I guess that's like south of White Settlement, like right off of 377.
It's close.
Western
Yeah.
Hills.
Yeah, I was just looking online. You know
Yeah.
what's crazy? In San Antonio, they didn't have any certified training centers. The closest one was New Braunfels, which is a little far from me.
Yeah.
But I see now that there are two and one is actually pretty close to me.
Mm.
So this is a game changer, because I was thinking about just going again, still doing Gracie Jiu Jitsu, but also going to 10th Planet. They open up another location closer to me, and just to get my rounds in there. But if there's a certified training center, like,
For sure.
I need to hit that.
Yeah, and you compete quite a bit, right, Roger?
Not so much these days. I competed in 2022.
Okay.
So it's crazy. There's one like 20 minutes from me now. That's nuts. But I'm looking at this one in Fort Worth. It's like on the west side of Fort Worth. I don't know if that one would be closer to you, but it sounds like that level 4 in Euless is
You stick there.
an awesome place to train.
Yeah. It's still the closest to me. I saw there's one in Arlington as well. But just the way that it's just kind of like right off of the highway there. So
and if you like it, I mean, if you're having a good time, that's what matters.
Yeah, for sure. So.
Oh yeah, and it sounds like this guy. I'm not familiar with the instructor there. Like, have you talked to him at all? Like how he started training or where he's from?
Yeah, actually, he has a really interesting story that resonates with me quite a bit. He was a brown belt when he started training with Gracie Jiu Jitsu, and he also expressed like, "Hey, I have been torn apart from Jiu Jitsu," and that was the reason that he went to Gracie as well. So I feel like he and I kind of connected there with that. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, he's a relatively new instructor. The Euless location just opened up, I think, a little over a year ago or so. Well, I mean, they were at South Lake before they were in Euless. But yeah, Johnny, he's a really cool guy. Very chill. It was a very welcoming environment for sure.
Awesome.
Alejandro does not have anything to do with them, does he, Roger?
Alejandro? That's Gracie Baja.
Yeah. I mean, I know the Gracie Baja and the Gracie University. What are you doing, the buzzard?
Well, I was going to edit that out. My battery was dying on me, so I had to move the phone over to the charger.
My battery was dying too, but I'm good. I'm good for now. I want to make sure that we finish the any questions. But yeah, Alejandro is a completely different dude, but self-defense still, nonetheless.
Yeah, no, I because we talked about this. He would kind of explain what was sport and what was self-defense. They still they compete a lot, so it's a little bit different than if you were going to go to a Gracie Academy. So.
And Roger, you competed in 2022, but you competed as a blue belt in what, 2016? No, it was a white belt you competed in 2016.
18. Well, also in 2016, but 2018.
So these are multiplying.
Yeah, what was it, 16, 18, and 22? So I had a little bit of a break in.
And you got a couple of gold medals in there. You did well, is my recollection.
Oh yeah, yeah, and it was fun. But I still like there were some tournaments where I'd get stuck on the bottom, and instead of like force my way up to the top, I just stayed safe hands and was waiting for an opportunity to escape, and then time expired. So the game plan didn't change, even though I'm in a competition. It's still going to be Gracie Jiu Jitsu.
Yeah, that's the point, is that we can compete in tournaments. We can go roll for how long is it? 3 minutes per round?
No, it's I want to say purple belt is 6 and white and blue belt is 5.
So that's still a pretty decent roll. I mean, it's a difficult time to roll 5 minutes, 6 minutes with another person that's going as hard as they possibly can. But that's something that we looked at last time you were here, Roger, is looking at that last match of yours and how the top guy wanted to hold Roger down, didn't want him to go anywhere. Well, Roger from the bottom, as I would at some point, maybe not today, but down the line for sure. Roger's sole concern is don't get tapped out, right? Each time you get tapped out is a mini death. So it's a little slice of your mortality.
And
so
I haven't been tapped out in competition yet, so.
Yeah. And I doubt that now that could also sound egotistical, but the point is this: if your goal, if you compete in a sport tournament and your goal is to not get tapped out, then you might not win a whole lot of matches. If your goal is to tap everybody out, you'll win some and you'll lose some, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the crazy thing is, though, Roger, you've turned into the picture of you and I from Wolfpack MMA.
Yeah, I turned video off for a second. I got to grab a charger.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, we're only going to go a little bit longer here. What was I saying? Sport jiu-jitsu. Oh yeah, the crazy thing is that although Roger used that method, just not get tapped out, there were a lot of opportunities to tap the other person out because they were so hyper focused on what is this strange behavior. It's very strange for the bottom person to do nothing, to like land under the bottom and just don't do anything. The person on top almost is thinking like, are you hurt, or like, what's going on? So in that thought process, they open up, create a little bit of distance, start to pass, whatever the case is, and that leaves a lot of windows. So if the person is savvy to that, they don't leave any windows. They just hold you down like you're not going to go anywhere no matter what. If there's $1 million right there, they're not going to let go just to get that $1 million, period. So what else? That's what happened in the last sport match that Roger was in. The guy didn't want the money. But any questions that you can think of? I'm going to ask you a couple of questions here coming up that you didn't expect, Josh. But anything that you can think you would like some light shed on?
In that last podcast with Professor Phillips, you had said that, actually both of you had said that you had to use your jujitsu in a self-defense scenario. And so I was curious about that. I don't know if you talk about that in another podcast, and if you do, we can skip that question. But
no, I can send you the video of Roger fighting the guy in his self-defense scenario. The guy had told Roger he was a purple belt at a school that we had trained at like a lot.
Mhm.
So we were very familiar with the guys there. There is like an early morning class that I didn't go to as much, or Roger. So there was some possibility, I guess, that he could have been a purple belt.
Mhm.
But and Roger definitely fought him as if that threat was there. But it's I'll send you the link to that video. It's very interesting. Roger, the guy's smaller, but Roger treated the fight as if he was bigger, stronger, more athletic. Managed the distance, used the P-zone, the front kick, angling, like slipping punches, and did the body fold takedown, or modified version, the body lock takedown onto the pavement. But that's the worst thing that happened because Roger has had control, as any Gracie Jiu Jitsu trained person would have, the knowledge that I'm going to remain on top. I'm going to be okay here. So I don't need to beat this person silly. I can just kind of wait this out, exhaust them, and ask them to comply.
Mhm.
That's pretty much what Roger did, is just cook him down without hurting, no punches, no damage done, and then lecture the guy about picking fights and then let him. My self-defense scenario is, it's in one of those episodes. Roger, what do you know what episode it's in? Are you there, Roger?
Yeah, I can't remember off the top of my head.
Is something about, I can't remember if it was that the episode where your dad, something about your dad was in a self-defense situation.
Um, no, I'd have to go back and look. I forget. We've done a few now, so
Yeah, I can't remember. It's toward the beginning, but it boils down to, I was training at Gracie Baja, and it's hard not to tell the whole story, but let me just boil it way down. Um, Training at Gracie Baja, before the jiu-jitsu class, there's a stand-up class. I was a student in the stand-up class. Dude showed up and he smelled like booze, and he ended up in my little group. Like you rotate around to different groups. He ended up in my group right next to me, and like just huffing. So I could smell booze, and I could also smell exhaustion and like just death coming from this direction. So he told me right off the bat that he came to fight this guy that trained at the jiu-jitsu class that was an MMA champion, like a local guy. But he was good. He was like for real good. And he was going to be teaching that class that night. Now the guy lucked out that he wasn't there. His name was Josh. Since he can't, I'll try to give you as good of like as good as I can, a good look at jujitsu. So I can't remember if that happened before this whole scenario or if it happened at the beginning of class. But here's what I can remember: that he sent Eric home. Eric still to this day has trouble like breathing. He got his nose worked on, but he drew blood, like he for real drew blood. He the class, like, it rapidly ended and jiu-jitsu class rapidly started. So it was almost like that happened, and then all of a sudden now I'm the instructor of the class.
Mhm.
So we went directly into no warm-ups, no anything. Just hey, this is Robert. Robert has freckles. Story, I have to point out that he had freckles, but Robert has freckles, and he's solidly built, and he's came here to to challenge in the most honorable way. Josh isn't here, so jujitsu is going to step up to do the challenge. I did it in a very what's the word, like diplomatic kind of way. So I felt like every chance had been given to do that role in a more gentle way than the stand-up fight went. But as soon as we everybody got around like a complete circle of the wall, and the room is pretty big, so there was probably like double the people that were at the stand-up class in jiu-jitsu. And the round started. Can't remember if it was a bell, somebody hollering, or what, but I'm now at the reverse angle from before, where I saw him just like a cannon directly at Eric nose. Now he's directly coming at me. Same exact like Hail Marys, just like going crazy. And of course, some of the techniques didn't change. This was 2010, maybe 2009. And this was, I can't remember when Gracie Combatives was released. Maybe it was 2006, but I don't remember being super familiar with combatives, but I was familiar with self-defense and how to deal with this situation from Gracie Baja. But that bull heading for me resulted in changing of levels. It's the what is it called, Roger? This technique, the hell haymaker punch defense. That's right, haymaker punch defense. So if you watch that lesson, the guy's coming in 100% throwing punches. One of those punches, you slip that much, hug the body, and then go around the back. Now, I didn't end up around the back. The guy still faced me. So I dropped for a double leg takedown and picked his legs up so high. Now, remember, first, I'm not justifying this whole thing. And second, he had just hurt a good friend of mine. So I felt like it was this is the one instance where this kind of aggression might be justified a little bit. But I got that double leg takedown, and I remember picking one of his legs up higher than my ear. So like picked it up, and I remember looking at his leg being above his knee, being above my ear, which is crazy. Like if you normally do a double leg takedown, it's the person's gonna land and you're gonna be on top. But in my double leg was pretty ugly, so that one leg was almost touching the ground or maybe coming off the ground that much, and the other was above my shoulder. So does that make sense? His body is kind of going like this.
Mm-hmm.
Roger, am I making sense to you too?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I lift, boom, and as I dump him with both of our body weights, leap so that both of our body weights land on him and in side control. And from side control, probably less than a second to slither to the mount, basically. Knee on belly, knee drive to the floor, mount. The guy, what you're taught in that intro class the other day, probably, or what you definitely will be, is the bottom. When you reverse rolls, the bottom guy is going to try like 3-4 things. And they're not going to just try those 3-4 things. They're going to try them for real. So they're going to try to buck and roll you off that way. They're going to try to buck and roll you off that way. They're going to try to push you off of them. They're going to try, like these 3 or 4 things, I can say them, they're going to do this, they're going to do that. But you put somebody down there and tell them, okay, your life depends on this right now. Push him that way and you won't die. He's going to push you that way like he don't want to die.
Mm-hmm.
When he pushes you that way, he don't want to die. He's going to try to push you off like he don't want to die. So these are the kind of responses. Nothing changes, by the way, with your mount control. The crazier he gets at that time, I'm like doing these low swimming back to make this explosion, it's about 90% full capacity. And I want to get it down to like 30%, 20%, and then go. So I'm being kind of dingy or greedy. I don't want to go like he's 90 and I'm still around 90. Well, I don't want to butt heads right there. And then let's just see. Let's see. I probably could tap him or choke him or whatever. But I don't want to even risk it. Even if it's just this kind of scenario, I want to try to burn and burn and burn and burn and burn. Now he's like 30% energy and I'm at 90% energy. Then I start to go. So more or less, I've told the whole story now, but the remainder of the fight is exactly the way that you experienced the instructor the other day, sitting up and just you thinking about those punches exactly the same way that Scott Phillips held me and Cody down and punched us is exactly the same way that I held this guy down with super hooks and high mount, two techniques, super hooks, high mount, and used the straight back variation of that high mount to punch. I would never teach anybody to punch. I would never tell anybody they should punch like this. Other than one, two, so they lift their arms and then arm lock them. But this wasn't that. It was just punch, 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 just to create damage.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I must say that I would never justify this ever. We even took it out of one of the episodes because I was like, I don't want people to think that that's a good thing or that
Right.
that I'm like holding up like jujitsu or this is a good thing. It was necessary. I only say that it was necessary at that time after it was necessary. And that's why it went the way that it did. But long story short, or long story even longer, I used the high mount. Every time he would lift his hips, he didn't know he's trying to lift his hips to roll me off. But every time he would lift, then I would punch. So my hands never touched the ground. It only touched his face. And every explosion equaled punches. So it's like probably 30, 40 punches, like way, way too much overkill on the punches. At some point, I recall him saying, get up or something like that, like give up. And I asked him, did you say give up or did you say I give up? So like kind of jerk move that I didn't just stop right there and be like, okay, are you done? Are you sure you're done? Then I asked him, did you say give up? Like I'm still punching. Did you say give up or you give up, whatever? 2, 3 seconds later, then he was like, and evidently the people in the class told me afterwards that he had stomped his feet a couple of times, evidently, to try to tap out. But yeah, I asked him again, did you say give up or I give up? And this time he said, I give up. Now, I remembered in retrospect also that after the whole thing, Roger, that I don't remember if I told this part, just this last little thing, that I did say Robert could have hit Eric. He could have acted like this and then left, but he stuck around to fight. He stuck around to make good on his promise, and that we have respect for. We have respect that you showed up like a lion and that you left like one. Just defeated. But never saw that guy again. But I did that. My friend that he broke his nose told me that he did see him again, and evidently he kept his distance from him. So that's the way my deal went down. But last thing, there have been probably 20 or more incidents where it could have went that way that I avoided the situation. It could have went south.
Mm-hmm.
That if it comes down to it, you saying you win, you're the man, I'm out. that's a victory. That's Elio Gracie survival mindset, because you're surviving just a little bit more, a little bit longer, right?
Mhm.
Roger, anything before I get into the crazy questions?
I'm ready for the questions.
Hey,
Now I'm scared.
Josh, what? So I have a 6-year-old, and I have a almost 8-month old, or she just turned 8 months old. But I'm still big horror movie guy.
Mhm.
If you watch horror movies, or let's say that you do, let's just say so.
Mhm.
What's a movie to this day that scares you to this very day? If you were to put it on right now, you would be scared the whole time you watched it.
I don't know to this day because I kind of like horror movies. So I wouldn't say it like scares me, but just that feeling of, I don't know, the darkness of the horror movies is enticing. But I will say one that like really got me growing up, believe it or not. And watching it, I even knew like, oh, this is kind of dumb, a little dumb, but just the concept of it just really got me was Silent Hill. And having
Oh yeah,
like played the games as well, like
yeah,
Silent Hill.
totally.
Oh, I will say like game wise though, I don't know if y'all are into games or not, but I remember back in like probably 2013, 2014, Kojima came out with the playable trailer PT game. I don't know if y'all have heard of that. That
Yeah,
game scared the piss out of me for
yes,
sure.
yeah. I'm familiar. I'm familiar. I That was super scary. Um, the original Silent Hill 4, I think it was 4, The Room, I found to be very,
Mm,
very creepy.
yeah,
Um, all the Silent Hill games in general were all very creepy.
yeah,
Uh, Resident Evil 4, although very fun and action packed, there are parts of that game that were scary. And still, like I watch a walkthrough recently, and when the ladies jump out, there are a few parts. The chainsaw guy, it's like that's scary. That's pretty freaking hardcore. Um, but what was the other one? Roger, I can't remember what we were talking about the other night. Texas Chainsaw Massacre that I spent. It's not scary. It's not scary to me now.
hmm,
It used to be my favorite movie, and there were elements that for some reason that it stuck with me. I guess the girl being held captive by people that were gonna possibly cannibalize her. Yeah, that's freaking weird.
yeah.
But me, my wife, and our daughter, I guess she was probably 3 or 4, stayed at that gas station. Are you familiar with that little area down there?
I mean, not really. Like I've heard a little bit maybe, but beyond surface level, no.
Well, there are people that bought these cabins, and they put them behind the gas station so that you can spend the night or stay down there as long as you want to. And I mean, it's where Leatherface chased Sally around the whole end of the movie. So we stayed there, and that was pretty creepy, even for a horror guy. Um, as far as foods that are the worst for you, what's your favorite? It's a good one.
Man, I gotta say Oreos.
Oreos are pretty good.
Yeah. And I can't eat gluten, so I know there's the gluten free Oreos. Those are actually pretty good, but yeah, I don't know. First thing that comes to mind is Oreos, man.
Yeah,
Anything sweet, honestly.
I would say mine used to be Entenmann's. Roger knows he's gonna have a whole thing about it. Used to be Entenmann mini cakes, but I'm long since done with those. Now it's
You sure?
March. What is it?
Are you sure?
100%. Yeah, I
I
haven't
think
had.
I saw a box on the screen right by you.
No, I haven't had mini cakes in probably 2 years. It's been a long time.
Ah,
but now it's marshmallow fruity pebbles. If I'm gonna eat something bad, that's it. But those are good, I gotta say. What is the context for where? Let's say, when is it okay to run from the police?
um, I mean, are you looking for a serious answer or?
Well, let's have serious, and
All
then
right.
let's have serious.
Serious answer is probably when that police officer is like very obviously corrupt, or their intentions are, not according to the law. I mean, maybe I don't know. Even then, that would be kind of sketchy because it's like their word versus yours, I guess. But and then every other time after that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, because you can't run once and then not run every other time, right? Okay, hang on, let me
Yep.
get lighting right here. If a zombie outbreak happened right this second, how would you deal with it?
All right, so I got this bunker. Um, it's like 3 miles underground. I got it all stocked for everything, like good to go. So I'd probably just go there.
Do
Oh,
you
no
really have a bunker?
No,
Oh
no,
my gosh, man.
no. But hypothetically, yeah, I do hypothetically.
So this is something that I hold near and dear because I'm concerned at some point there could be. I'm not saying that there is going to be or that there are zombies, but if there were, I would have a plan. I would be ready for it. Um, New Orleans, that's all I'm going to say. The answer has something to do with New Orleans. Should I get into that or just go straight on to the next thing?
Is that a
Uh,
question?
yeah. You know what? I figured, because you've got family in Louisiana that might have something to do with it.
No, no, no. I wouldn't want to draw them. I mean, see, this is now it's going to be a whole thing. But the oil rigs in the water, they're built like platform that goes out and then goes up and then out like that. The zombies are not going to be able to climb up and then go in that direction to get in. So really, as long and you've got food, you got shelter. This is going to be where we need to go if it happens. Plus, they got to go out into the water. They're going to get their body's going to fill with water. It's going to become um, like puffy with those gases, and I think they might rise to this. See, this is a what does this have to do with anything? Until zombies attack, and then it matters.
Yeah.
Then the people are going to be like, "Where? What was that episode of that freaking weird ass show where the dudes were talking and were wearing the pajamas?" But yeah, sucks to be you guys because I'm not going to finish. So
Something to do with oil rigs.
yeah, something to do with oil rigs. There was more that you missed out on because you guys are arrogant. But if your wife, are you married? You said you're
Yeah.
married.
hmm
So your wife asks you to watch a chick flick. And if you like chick flicks, then say something. It's something else. It's some other kind of movie that you don't like. She asks you to watch one of these movies that you don't like, but you don't want to outright be like, "No, I don't want to watch it." How do you deal with that?
Pretend to have diarrhea.
That's usually my response to pretty much every problem.
my response is just to have diarrhea
Yeah.
all the time. Self defense. Use it for self defense. Use it for everything.
Do you know what? I bet you if the person crapped their pants and you were fighting them, you might be like, "Whoa, hey, whoa,
Yeah,
did
we're
I?
good.
Yeah, this fight is over.
Yeah.
You are covered in fecal matter." So that might be actually be a really good strategy. I've never considered it to this moment.
There you go.
With that, we just learned a big lesson here.
There you go.
Would you rather be attacked by a dog or a cat? Now, it's not attacked by like a Rottweiler. Let's say an average dog and an average cat that are both trying to rip your freaking face off?
I would honestly say dog, because it's a lot harder for them to like grab a hold of you and stay on you. Whereas like the cats with the claws and their teeth, like they can grab a hold of you and they can stay on you. And I've been attacked by a dog before, and so like once they got that bite, it just kind of like, I don't know, I guess it let go or something. But yeah, now
Yeah.
that's the average dog. If it's a bigger dog, I would say cat. But
Yeah, it depends on if the bigger the dog, the more hardcore the dog is, that the worse that initial bite is going to be.
yeah,
But
What about if it's an ocelot?
what's that?
Still go cat if it's like a bigger cat, like a jungle cat.
yeah, no, hell no. Or I mean, yes, absolutely, yes.
Take the dog.
Yeah, I'll take the dog.
Take the pit bull over a. I don't know. There's an ocelot. I forget how big they are. I mean, certainly like a panther, you'd rather have the pit bull.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm probably not making it out either way. But
bobcat.
That's like that big.
Can you survive a bobcat? I mean, I forget how big those bobcats get.
They're about this big. They're like twice as big as a big cat. I would fight a bobcat if it came down to it.
yeah, I'd fight anything if it came down to it. But if I had a choice, dude, I don't know. That'd be tough. Those claws are just nothing. Those claws are just something else.
I have a cat that Roger's probably thinking of right now that has attacked many people and like viciously, like you need to go to the doctor type attack them. And she's in there right now sleeping, just like everything's fine, having just made people bleed like bad. But there's a whole thing. There's a way to trigger her to attack.
Oh.
I don't want to get into that because then people might try to sneak in and then I can't sick her on them.
Mm-hmm.
But I've got a couple of plans that are not talked about in jiu-jitsu or cat school. One of them is if you keep jelly toast. Have I ever told you this about the jelly toast, Roger?
No.
Yeah, keep jelly toast available. And then say somebody sneaks in your house and you hit them with that jelly toast. Imagine the way your mindset would change if you were like creeping around and then all of a sudden you got jelly all over your face. It would change the way that your night is going to go from that point. You'd be like, jelly. So, jelly toast, cat attack. Those are the two ways that I'm going to deal with.
That sounds like Home Alone.
Sounds like what?
Sounds like Home Alone type shenanigans.
It worked. He got out. I mean, it worked. So
yeah, I don't know, man. If I got hit with jelly toast and I didn't see anybody in the house, I'd be out for sure.
You'd be, how the heck where did the jelly toast come from? Why did somebody hit me with jelly toast? Why not a gun or like hit me with something? I just got hit with jelly toast. I'm robbing a house. Something's weird. Something is going on here that's not right.
Yeah, I want no part of it.
No. Who do you think would win a full-on brawl out of me and Roger right now?
I don't know. I'd have to see. I don't know how big are you, Joey?
Man, Roger, how big? You tell me how big I am.
What, 4'11", 110 pounds? What are you? Aren't you 5? I forget. What are you? 5'6", 5'4", 5'4". Probably maybe 150.
Right now, I'm way more. I'm probably 170.
170. Okay. So you haven't been working on your cardio. So your cardio is maybe not the best.
Right.
Neither is mine.
Neither have you. Yeah.
Are you
Although
still?
I did go run around the block with my daughter. So because she felt like doing it. I was like, yeah, let's go run.
That might level playing field.
There you go. Yeah, that one run.
But for this one though, Josh, it's in your hands.
Yeah.
Just from knowing what you know, it's a brawl. It's a brawl.
Yeah, man. I'm sorry, but I got to put my money on Roger.
He's too big, right? He's too much bigger than. Well, we've talked about this recently too, that people would be very disappointed if that fight happened, because you would expect a lot of fireworks probably, but what you would get is the ultimate wiggle fight, just avoiding defeat.
Well,
This would
there might be a few. There might be a few like P zones and a few a little bit of striking in the beginning before a clinch or takedown, but we have similar game plans. So
I can't imagine that anything would happen that I could do that would surprise Roger and vice versa, unless I did something that was not like just something totally out of left field. And if that happened, then it would be capitalized on. So I couldn't risk that. So it would come down to it being a very boring fight. But it would be we've discussed it that it depends. Maybe if one of us was shot up with rage or something.
Now that changes everything. That changes everything.
Whoever got shot with the rage is in a worse spot because the other guy's just trying to exhaust the attacker. So it would be easier to exhaust that person if they were going and like trying to kill you. Roger wouldn't be trying to kill me. He would be trying to exhaust me. And I would be doing nothing but trying to avoid being exhausted and to avoid being punched in the face. So that's both of our game plans. This would go and go and go. A better question, though, would be, how do you think it would go if we go right now through the screen, Roger and I, and we could roll sportive 3 5-minute rounds? Who do you think would win that?
Still probably on Roger. Been training at the 10th planet with the weight advantage, no punches. But I don't know. I mean, I haven't trained with either of you, so this is going off size right now.
it's usually the general like thought. They're like,
right.
hey, it's bigger, stronger. But what's crazy is the Jiu Jitsu Robot has so many tricks up his sleeve, and he's been doing it for almost triple the time that I have.
Yeah.
And you taught me, other than like the leg locks at 10th Planet, we've gone over the defenses though, but you pretty much taught me everything I know. And you were there when we trained. We both trained, got that private lesson with Helson and the seminars, and you trained longer with Scott Phillips. I was only there for a brief time, then I moved, and you were there with him for 2 solid years? 4
years.
I'm thinking it was 2, but it was 4. Yeah. So
yeah, the end of 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020. Really, how this wrapped around is 2018, 2019, 2020. The chaos happened with 2021, so it was a lot of online lessons. And then started 2022, got about 3/4 of the way, and then started to had to move for work. So would have been over 4 years if not for COVID. But really what it boils down to joking aside with Roger and I, because we did roll the other day when they were over here.
I got stuck and I could not do the game plan that I was thinking about. So I had to try to work on the complex puzzle that you gave me.
Well, that's basically what happened for both of us, is that there are positions that we will find ourselves in where we either like genuinely stuck or under such heavy fire that nothing else matters. Like, oh, my shoulder is going to be crushed right now. So I can't really worry about, am I going to be mounted? Like, be uncomfortable, terrible. It's just horrible. And Roger has the same element to his game as well. They're going to give you some of this for sure at the Gracie Academy, Gracie University. But I don't think that they're going to address this invisible jiu-jitsu. Do they, Roger? That's another. They call it invisible jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, I was going to ask if that was a piece to the whole invisible jiu-jitsu thing.
Well, I mean, I haven't trained at a certified training center but one time. So I just went and dropped in Arizona. So that'd be a great question to ask the professor.
Yeah, Roger did all of his Gracie University techniques with me, all the combatives, started the master cycle. Now, I've even forgotten what the question was. What was it?
Who would win between the two of you for sports jiu-jitsu? 3 rounds, 5 minutes? Or did...
Oh, the ratcheting. Did they teach ratcheting?
Yeah.
You know what? I got an answer to that. If it's at like AGF or something like that, it would be, I would get penalties for not being able to pass the guard or something like that. It'd be I would lose on penalties from like stalling or something like that, from not being able to pass. That's a good bet to bet on.
But you would get a pat on the freaking back from Helson if you were crushing somebody and then you continued to crush them despite your movement. You would get a big pat on the back. So invisible jiu-jitsu, yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's how to connect your body to another person's body in a way that is not, it's not necessarily that you contoured your body to their body. It's not necessarily that you found the spot that if you could put 1,000 pounds in that one spot, that they would be stuck. It's that you have connected your leverage points to the leverage, the polar opposite, the leverage weak point of their body. And you have controlled that with connection. So sometimes that connection comes through as very, very heavy, like a ton of pressure. Sometimes it surfaces like maybe you roll to your side and the person modifies the mount. Do you know what that means? Modifies? Josh, you know what that means? Modifies the mount. So they modify the mount. They lift one knee, slide one leg up. Well, if that happens, but there's no pressure or there's no actual connection, then in reality, they can just put their back on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
So how these positions connect with each other and how those connection spots all connect with each other, that's what invisible jiu-jitsu is. Invincible. It's Invincible Academy, invisible jiu-jitsu. Ratcheting is taking that connection and then making it feel worse. Like finding the spot where you're creating pressure on the bottom person and then making that pressure, whatever it feels like, if it's like 8 out of 10 and the person is really suffering, then you need to get it to 9 out of 10. And if I want you to get to the next belt, let's say, I want you to get to 10 out of 10. And I want to be able to feel it for myself that, oh yeah, that's a 10 out of 10. Now I want you to rotate to the other side without losing that 10 out of 10. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
So
I would love to learn that. Like,
yes, that I think Scott Phillips might be the only person other than Hicks and Gracie. Roger, what anything crazy for Josh? Any crazy? Have you ever? Well, I was going to ask him if he's ever shaved his entire body. No, you know what? Josh, have you ever heard of somebody named Nick Cooley?
That actually does sound familiar.
Does it now? What do you know about Nick Cooley?
Nothing. No, just saying that name sounds familiar.
The Buzzard. Does the Buzzard ring a bell? Somebody called the Buzzard.
No.
I mean, he's definitely done competitions with some high level opponents. So
big time. Like getting up there with like John Danaher's crew. Our friend, his name is Nick Cooley.
Mm-hmm.
He's technically disabled. Like he was born with some physical handicaps. He's about 110 pounds, 120. You say, Roger?
I think 129. He said, but he's probably eating.
He's eating well, or he's just wanting you to think he's putting on weight. But we're talking about a skin and bones little guy who would, if you saw him, you would say, yeah, I can see that this guy's got some challenges, some physical challenges. I don't know what it is, but I can tell that they're there. So he's skin and bones. This little guy that looks like the wind could blow him over. This little guy, his name is Nick Cooley. We call him the Buzzard because he earned that nickname, first of all. Second of all, he rolls with us like equal freaking, like if we're tigers, Nick Cooley is with us like a tiger. He might defend, he might attack, whatever the case is. Nick is like going, he is going for the kill.
And he all the time. He's always in the gym. He's always in the gym training. So
he's training like 24 hours, literally 24 hours a day sometimes. He goes on vacation to jiu-jitsu schools. Yeah. It's just like jiu-jitsu, and it's all like high level jiu-jitsu guys. Like he's friends with Gracie. He's talking to Half about coming onto the podcast, and like all these guys, they're friends with Nick Cooley. So this whole story is just to say that I don't know how this worked its way in, but I'm just gonna work. I'm gonna work it in anyway, because about if you've ever thought about shaving your whole body, or if you've shaved your whole body. Well, let me tell you about my friend the Buzzard. He did not shave his whole body. He have you ever? Do you know what Octagon MMA is?
Like the Octagon of like UFC Octagon?
Well, it's a school in Dallas, in in Hollow.
Okay, no.
It was led by the 6th degree black belt under what did I said his name the other, Cavalcante. Roger, what is Cavalcante's name? Do you know it? Something Cavalcante Romero.
I have to look it up.
He's a well-known guy. Something Cavalcante. Jacare. His name is Jacare. So the guy that led the school was a black belt under Jacare, who was a legit old school jiu-jitsu guy. And so the jiu-jitsu classes are like top notch. You know, big mats, cleaned every single day. The instructors are also cleaning. They've got the right mindset. They've humbled themselves. They got the higher belts are cleaning the mat, while the white belts, maybe even the earlier blue belts, taking a shower and get ready to go. And so it's like we're leading by example type thing.
Mm-hmm.
Legit, right?
Mm-hmm.
We trained there, all three of us, me, Roger, the Buzzard. But as a kind of like a day school, like we would go to our regular classes where we teach in the afternoon. But during the day, at some point, we would go to Octagon and take the class and then just use whatever we learned there when we got back in some way. So like we're taking classes at Octagon, teaching at Wolfpack MMA, and all the while doing Gracie combatives.
Well, we needed reps with like proper, jiu-jitsu guys, like high level colored belts. They had purple and brown belts, training. And where we're teaching, it was a whole bunch of white belts.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And we're, under Megaton and Sunshine and Jerry, the intensity was not necessarily as harsh as what you would get at Octagon or John Machado or 10th Planet or really anywhere else. That they were pretty, they roll hard, but they were not, certainly not just killing it with every roll.
Well, the school is brand new. I mean, like right now, if you go up there, like everybody is, you know, they've got years more experience and they're going to be way tougher now. So
For sure. But as far as Octagon MMA goes, the whole point of it was that I think Nick and I were there as blue belts. The Buzzard and I were blue belts, and you weren't there for this experience, right, Roger? With the Buzzard being unpackaged.
no, I guess that's where he got his nickname for running around the locker room.
He did 100% get the nickname from running around the locker room. So I'm gonna leave you with this, Josh, unless you have any other questions. But I want to be able to pull it all back around to the Buzzard, because this guy will inspire you more than we will, probably, because he could have just had he had a free kind of excuse his whole life to not do better, to not try harder, to not give it 100%, to just be disabled. You know what I mean? Like, nobody is gonna look at him and say you could have been more. They're gonna say you doing anything is awesome. That's badass. But he's the type of guy that is going so hard and training so far more intense than Roger or I, even in the peak of our intensity. Like, like just top tier, go, kill, roll hard all the time, 24/7. His last competition was with Luke Griffith. Are you familiar with Luke?
That doesn't ring a bell.
He's like, from what the video looked like, Roger, you might correct me, he looks like he's like maybe 6'2", 6'3", 250 pounds, maybe 260 of pure muscle and jiu-jitsu perfection. And Nick rolled with him in a sport jiu-jitsu match. It's like a, regular match. Now Luke won, but the Buzzard survived more than 5 seconds, more than 10 seconds, more than 15, 20, 30, 35. He made it like 40 seconds for a guy who could say, I can just lay in the bed all day and have people bring me Jell-O and like chocolate milk. That guy can fight with the best jiu-jitsu fighters in the world right now and hold his own for 40 times longer than he would have been otherwise. Me and Roger wouldn't probably be able to roll much longer with Luke than Nick did. So
yeah, he might have the record if we all had a match against Luke. He might beat us in amount of time survived.
Yep, he's an unbelievable individual. When I talked about earlier, the top 5 most well executed techniques against me in that list, and number 2 or 3 is the Buzzard arm triangling me. One time after class, we were doing a lesson and he arm triangled me. And that is in a league of its own as far as the tightness and the closeness and the way that it felt like it was cutting through my arm, cutting through my neck, that I felt like, man, it's a crazy thought, but my head, if he gets any tighter, there's a chance that my head is going to start to come off. That ridiculous thought did come to my mind, because that's how effectively he was squeezing that dang choke.
That's awesome.
So this is a disabled person, quote unquote. Point being, he's not disabled. He's a freaking kill him, go get him, ready to fight. He's got the keys to the school. they give you the keys if you're ready. Like if somebody calls it, we need somebody to be at the academy in like 15 minutes. There's a guy that doesn't believe jiu-jitsu works. Whoever has the keys, that's who is expected to show up there and do the challenge match. And the buzzard has the keys. But there is one flaw, or maybe some people would say one interesting
Perk?
one perk. Yeah, we'll say a perk.
No, a quirk. A quirk. I wouldn't say a perk.
You wouldn't say a perk.
I just heard the tale. I never like saw him run around the locker room naked.
But yeah, you spoiled the joke, man. So Nick, the buzzard, after class, the dudes are mopping up the floor, and we're all in the locker room. Me, the buzzard, blue belts, with like a bunch of purple belts and a bunch of brown belts and a bunch of black belts. And these aren't guys that are like Joe Schmo, and nothing wrong with Joe Schmoes, but I'm talking about like Damian Jackson, a UFC fighter, like several UFC fighters. We're talking Buchecha was there at one point. Nick did the same thing. We're talking Octavio Couto himself in the locker room. Nick doing the same thing, which is this guy, Nick the Buzzard, will just take his clothes off and then not go to the shower or put his clothes on or whatever, but he'll look around the room and find, oh, hey, there's Octavio. I need to ask him something about the half guard. So he's walking around talking to people, butt ass naked. At least 3, 4, 5 people looking them straight in the eyes, talking about it. And then there they are, yeah, Nick, you half guard is kind of challenging when your legs aren't that, like you got short legs and I guess short legs, but that's something up with that. But yeah, he's just an interesting character. But the most interesting aspect of this story is this isn't the only time that he's done this. And other friends of ours have said that after training at the MMA school that we taught at, that Nick would go in the dang locker room and get completely naked and try to talk to people.
That's hilarious.
And we asked him about it on the podcast the other day. And he was basically like, oh, I've done that a bunch of times. I'm doing that everywhere. He's an interesting character. He is a very interesting character. Blue belt. I'm sorry. Purple belt. All I can say is if you were to roll with the buzzard, you would be impressed. That's what else can you say? It's not that he would beat you soundly or that you couldn't pass his guard or any of that. You would just be impressed with him. And that's the same kind of experience that we've all had. Is like, I genuinely think this thing is going to kind of play out how I believe it will. And it's not going to play out that way. He's good enough. He's that good that you won't be able to do it the way that you want to. The challenge will be exponentially more difficult than it should be, especially size, weight, handicap, all that stuff. There's still a challenge there that is almost insurmountable. It's difficult to get around, even for Roger with like 200, like 100 and something pounds on the buzzard. It's a difficult roll, right, Roger?
200. Oh yeah. Keeps he keeps his defense. His defense is like his superpower.
Yeah, he's phenomenal. He's got a little bit of so many different high level instructors to pull from. He's had a class with Hickson. He's had a class with Houth. He's had a class with here, there, me, Ricardo Talavera, Scott Phillips. He's got all of the guys, and he can pull a little bit from this one, a little bit from that one, a little bit from here. And that's exactly what he does. Just the last thing before I hand it off to Roger. It's always a funny part to this story. But I knew that, before training with Nick. And at the time that he showed me the arm triangle, well, he was demonstrating his effectiveness with the arm triangle. And I knew the arm triangle, but he was showing me that no, there's a different level of effectiveness when you do it like this. And I was like, man, I know Nick goes to different academies the right way. He's not just leaving one and then being very disloyal. He's doing it the right way. He always goes correct, comes correct. Nobody has a problem. But at one of these places, he had learned this arm triangle that I had never felt something that tight and effective before. Like I said, top two, maybe the top best technique I'd ever felt. So I wanted to know, where did you get that technique? And I asked him, where did you learn that technique? And he said, you taught me. So evidently, at some point, I had taught the buzzard that technique. Nick, maybe next time we'll get you on here and Nick, and you can bounce off of him.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. That's a really cool story. That's like seriously inspiring.
Yeah, I believe Roger are both of his episodes posted.
Yeah.
Maybe that's where I saw the name from. Yeah, I'm making my way through.
Yeah, the first of the episodes is episode 5, and we kind of cut it halfway because he's doing some of his buzzard crap, and he's like, sounds like he's at the circus.
Oh, he's riding in a car down the highway in the first.
Yeah, he's just driving.
You can hear the wind, and he's like, "Oh, I'm going to dinner."
Yeah. And this is after the talk, like, okay, you got to be somewhere quiet, right? You're going to be silent. He's like, dude, man, you worried about me? Of course I'm going to be silent. Cut to like 2 hours later is like a marching band.
He goes to the grocery store in the second interview, and he's like, you can hear the items getting rung up.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
He's like, well, I got to eat, guys. I mean, it's better than going to the fast food place. That'd be way more noisy.
And then we did the episode again, and the second one, I was like, Nick, yeah, the first one went out of control. Just tell me this time that you're going to be like somewhere cordoned off, no noise, no driving. He's like, yeah, dude, yeah, I got it, bro, I got it. And this time he literally was at somewhere like a restaurant eating, right?
It's crazy. There was so much noise because he was like walking and you could hear like cars go by and stuff like that.
But nonetheless, both those episodes, for me personally, I probably feel like I gained more from listening to Nick because I know Nick's white belt, like his starting point is as close to true zero as you can be without just being like you don't have any control of your legs or quadriplegic or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
That physicality all the way to right at zero. Can you still build a jiu-jitsu robot? The answer is yes. And it's the buzzard, Nick Cooley. He's an aggravating jiu-jitsu robot, but he is legit, loyal, old school, supportive, 100%. If you got his back, he's got your back. It's the way that people would describe Elio Gracie is the way you can describe Nick Cooley. And that's a high honor. So we really, really love Nick, care about Nick. He's a great guy. And he's ridiculous, just aggravating as he can possibly be a human being.
On the mats and on the podcast.
The same. Yeah, it's the same. if you were rolling with him, that aggravation of I just give me that freaking arm is the exact same aggravation you would have if you're like, Nick, get in the other seat. Just move over. Nick, just move over. Now don't turn the radio. Just leave the radio where it is. There's just constant aggravation. But like I said, Nick is a fantastic guy. And those aggravations I wouldn't trade for $1 million if it meant that we would lose Nick. He's one of the greatest resources in the Jiu Jitsu Robot's arsenal, is that we've got Nick Cooley. So you'll meet him. You'll meet him soon, especially if you keep training like you're doing now and asking questions and interacting with us and watching the videos on our channel that we already have, how to roll with a new student. That would be a good one for you. Blue Gracie Jiu Jitsu purple belt versus Sport Jiu Jitsu blue belt. That one went a bit viral. I don't know if you had seen that one.
I haven't seen that one yet.
That one went a little bit viral because in the narration, I say I slapped Joe, my training partner, just a little bit. But the word slap sounds worse than it is. I'm basically kind of just pawed at his face, just like just to say, don't forget your face. And he knew what I was doing. But you'll be able to watch back through those videos, and I think there's a lot on there that you can learn a little bit from that will help you be even more prepared for combatives, for sure. 100% fact.
And we're doing on sport tutorials too, right, Joey?
Absolutely. We're changing up a little bit of kind of the direction that we're going. We're still keeping the podcast, we're still keeping the rolling videos and technique videos, but tutorials and question and answer videos, as well as response videos to sport jiu-jitsu channels like Jiu Jitsu. You know that one?
Jiu Jitsu?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're taking the answers that he answered that got the most interaction, I guess, that people interested in those questions. If they're sport or street related in any way, then we've added them into a series we've started. It's just basically the Jiu Jitsu Robot Responds, or the second series, the Jiu Jitsu Robot Redo, or I called it something else too, Roger. Do you remember Redo or Do Over? The Jiu Jitsu Robot Do Over. So whatever it is that we're gonna take it and put it through the freaking operating system and see what the answer is. If it's a Q&A, then we're going to take the question, put it through the operating system, and then give you whatever the answer is. So that, with my monotone kind of voice, it's not as exciting as it will be once you get to watch it.
I'm excited. That'll be awesome.
Anything, Roger? Anything crazy, wild to bring up for John?
No, but it sounds like he's on the right track, and I'm glad that he got a kick out of the podcast, and he's at a good school where he's not going to get banged up. So you're definitely on the right track, and yeah. I'm gonna be following suit, since there's a certified training center close to me now.
Awesome. Yeah, that'd be great.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, it's gonna give me I think doing combatives as well is gonna give me some time to do some like strength training and like really make sure that my joints are, much more stable and ready to roll and everything.
Yeah.
So. And the first chance that we get, we need to organize a thing where we can, Scott Phillips would be the best place for us to go, because it's friendly territory where I can kind of have some say, meaning, hey, professor, in the right way that I would speak to him beforehand, but would you mind if my friends come train and just kind of, uh, we do the class, but then we're going to look at nothing but self-defense techniques, or we're going to do it the old school way, where we'll pull you to the side and then kind of just have a little one-on-one or two-on-one type of a class.
Do they have open mats over there? I don't think I've been open mat at Invincible. No.
No, the only way they do open mat is if it's like related to a in-house tournament. If there's
Okay.
an in-house tournament coming up, then they'll let them do preparation for that. But Scott believes more in that old school kind of, you train here or you are asked to come here, then you can come in the doors. Um, you've messaged me or you talked to us. We've looked into you, and you show up at your first class. You won't pay a dime, but we want to get a look at you, make sure you're not like aggressive or violent or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to slowly bring you in, that way. But if you got somebody vouching for you, which I would be, then we can get right on in there. There's not an open mat, but if I request for a good reason that we would like to do it, a certain kind of way, with maybe you, Roger, you and I working with Josh, he would already probably have me working with Josh anyway. So you just helping out there would be the perfect kind of trio. So that should be our goal with this thing, is to all get to spend time on the mat and evaluate some techniques, see where you're at. Because as it is right now, we don't have a clue really. You might be much better than you think. I mean, what do you think? Where do you think you're at? How do you do with blue belts?
I mean, it just really depends on where I'm training, and where those blue belts are at, like, and that's the thing that has frustrated me a lot about jiu-jitsu, is that has not been that curriculum where, like, you train things over and over. It's just kind of been like, what the instructor wants to teach, and that's been pretty much my experience everywhere. So I feel like, I know a little bit here, and I know a little bit here, and I know a little bit here, in this position here, this position here, this position here, but like, as a system, I don't have like a game that connects the things together. I have like little pockets of things that I know here and there, and I don't know if y'all know Preet Mikkelsen. He has a thing called defensive BJJ. It's pretty interesting, but essentially it's kind of like defensive positions that I've been putting together, and it has made my defense in terms of sport jiu-jitsu, like, it changed entirely, and I feel so much more confident. But it's not in any way, shape, or form something that I would ever use on the street to defend myself, So it depends. But yeah, I mean, blue belts give me a relatively hard time, I'd say, like, on average.
Do you tap the blue belts on a case? It's not. There's no problem if we're asking you how the roles go, because
Mhm.
we're asking you from the position of people that are trying to make you better, not like how many people just smoke.
Yeah, no. I mean, I can think of one blue belt that occasionally I'll get, or I guess in the past, because it's been a while since I've been training. But yeah, I mean, like, right now these days, no, I don't think I could consistently get a blue belt.
How about the purple belts? How do the roles with them go?
I feel much more comfortable, like, obviously I know that they're like holding back, and they're not nearly as like spazzy or aggressive, because they know, on what level I'm on. So, um, I got complimented by a purple belt at my previous school, and they said, "Hey, your defense is actually really good." I was like, "Oh." Well, actually, funny story with the whole Preet Mikkelsen defensive BJJ. I'm curious y'all's take on that. I'm very curious y'all's take on his system. It'd be very interesting. I'll send you a video. I'll send you a video or two. You can check it out. Implementing that system, I was watching a lot of it before I started getting back into jiu-jitsu. And when I went to that 10th Planet gym where, they just like beat the crap out of me, they murdered me, there was one purple belt there who I was using some of these like defensive positions and he would like reset the roll.
Yeah.
And that's when I was like, oh snap, there's actually like something to this, because like this and I said, hey, like, I need experience like with the defense, so you can keep going. And he said to me, it's more work than it's worth. And so I was like, oh, that was actually like a compliment to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? More work than it's worth.
Yeah.
That means it's going to make me tired to do what I need to do right now. So I'm not even going to do it.
Yeah.
Isn't that kind of the tap?
Yes, you tapped him.
So there's in those defensive positions, I feel pretty confident.
As you should.
It's so odd. Like, I've never heard anybody say something like that,
Yeah, dude. And that was wild. That was cool. I internally I was smiling because I was like, oh wow, that felt very victorious to me,
Yeah, absolutely. How about brown, black, any of
they
the
just
sort?
play with me. They play with me and they let me work, And
you rolled with a lot of brown and black belts as well.
Yeah, brown belts more than black belts, but I've rolled with, I think, like 3 black belts, maybe 2 black belts, and probably like 5 to 7 brown belts, and actually less purple belts than brown belts.
Well, I probably rolled with maybe 75 to 100 black belts, maybe 150 brown belts, 150 purple belts, let's say 150 blue belts, and then 10,000 white belts.
Yeah.
I'll tell you this, the people that have given me the most headache are wrestlers that don't know anything except for what they see on the UFC. So they're doing the stuff that it makes it hard for us to get anything going. They're holding us down like you're not going anywhere. They're passing the guard so hard that, like I said before, my legs went numb when the dude threw them out of the way. Just making it very hard. Roger has a video that we can show you of him rolling with this particular guy and doing a very good job. But they're really hard to deal with. Jiu-jitsu always prevails. It's just more difficult when the person is kind of base conscious. They're aware.
Mm-hmm.
Stable position on top. And you start to compromise that, they're just like a cat.
Mm-hmm.
They're just right back to the top. So they're difficult. Now, black belts who really mean business are usually so sharp that they just cut right through like a razor blade, that they can just get right to it and you won't feel any pain. But as you go down a little bit, brown to purple, they're that good. They're sharp like a razor too, but it's almost like their razor is just a little bit dull. So they're gonna slash it like twice as hard, or their pressure in their mind, they're thinking, I'm working on my pressure. It's not perfect, so I'm gonna make it like 20 out of 10, just kill pressure. So my hardest rolls have been certainly purple brown, and wrestlers. Roger, is that kind of in line with your experience?
Well, there's certainly been a lot of really good purple belts and brown belts that we've rolled at various schools. I'd have to say, I'd say the toughest roles for me were with like whenever we were visiting some places, rolling with like a black belt. Like I'm thinking specifically like what was where was that? What was which gym did we
John,
go to? It
John,
was John Machado's,
yeah,
and
yeah,
so it was his son that I rolled with.
yep.
That like, I mean, he's flowing, and it's still like feels like drowning. You know?
Yeah, it's rare that you roll somebody that good. He's like Scott Phillips level good, where he can truly just flow and then still tap you out and still catch you just like you're a beginner. So that's rare, man. Somebody that good, they're either a Gracie or they're very close to the Gracies, or there is a difference. I mean, they're good jujitsu compared with like great jujitsu is a big jump. It's an unfamiliar jump. It's almost like two alien things. They look the same, but man, one of them feels way different than the other one. Um, but
I
but
would say Brandon at Invincible Academy.
Brand,
Like,
oh yeah,
yeah, I mean, I think he was a brown belt at the time, but no, I can't remember if he got his black belt or he's still a brown belt, but it was right close around that time.
he was purple, and then right as y'all started to come around, he had gotten his brown belt right before that.
So he must have been a brown belt, but I mean, rolling with him, like, it was completely exhausting. And I mean, it was just, that was probably the most exhausting I ever felt. It was like rolling with him, and I'm just like, man, I was like, hurry up and finish me, but he just wouldn't.
That's the level that you're going to get down there. If you ask for it, or if you progress to that point, he wouldn't have treated Roger that way if Roger didn't want that. Roger wants him to go that hard.
Yes, it was a thrill.
He reciprocated. I mean, he obliged. And this guy that we're talking about, they call him the Rooster. He's an older guy too. He's probably like 50, maybe 55. Would you say maybe 60? I think he's older.
No, I don't think he's that old.
How old is he?
I don't know. I've always thought he was like, I don't know, maybe late 40s right now.
Mm,
Certainly
I
when I
think
met
that,
him, he was early 40s. I met him like
I,
early on in my
yeah,
jiu-jitsu journey.
career. I think he is definitely over 50. Here's why.
Maybe
We have,
barely.
do I barely?
Yeah, barely. Maybe he's like 51.
Yeah, it could be. I know that we had a thing that we signed for him that referenced something about being over 50. And this
Okay.
was right before I left there. And just for knowing, Josh, this dude's wife was a brown belt when I started training with him, and she's a black belt now. She's not much bigger than me, not strong and like physically solid. She's like a pretty dainty young lady, and she is as good or better than any guy that I've ever trained with of the same rank. So any brown belt that I've ever rolled with, she's as good or better than them. That's an amazing female. I mean, we all know that the girls get good too, but for them to truly be like taking down the big guys, holding them down, tapping them out every time, that's impressive.
Yeah, big time.
And that's his wife. These are the people that make up Invincible Academy. Brandon, his wife, Cody, me, Scott Phillips, and a bunch of other dudes like us. So, and Roger at one point for a small time, the Buzzard coming by, just solid solid as it gets jiu-jitsu, who is, and doing nothing but trying to make everybody else better, but also trying to really sharpen their own stone as sharp as it can get.
Yeah, I got to make my way down there sometime, or up
Yeah,
there,
so
I guess, rather.
we'll coordinate. We'll coordinate
That'd be
that.
awesome.
Roger, anything else that's going on 12:37? We're about to do that thing that happened in that movie, The Langoliers, if we don't watch it.
Yeah, I'm ready to hit the hay, man. I'm ready to call it. But this has been fun, for sure. So we're gonna have to meet up for real and get some training in.
Yeah,
Hey,
absolutely.
it has been fun. Just for the record, when Roger and I rolled, nobody won, nobody tapped. It was a stalemate. We agreed to stop. Is that accurate, Roger?
I still think you let me win by getting my stalemate. That was a victory for me. But I think you're holding back. I can never trust it.
You can trust it this time. I was definitely not holding it.
Okay.
At the very least, it was a stalemate. So, any other questions, Josh, that you can think of? You definitely send them our way. Keep on keeping on. The more questions that you have, we have the answers. I know that you could probably reach out to jiu-jitsu guys. Some may answer you, some may not. Unless the world is burning down, Roger and I are going to do our best to answer your question. So,
Oh, what's the name of the podcast? You said you were doing a podcast.
Yeah, my buddy and I are starting a podcast called Matt Dads.
Matt Dads.
Yeah,
Matt Dads.
we're both new fathers, and we met through jiu-jitsu, and he's a purple belt now.
Well, definitely ask your instructor about the Gracie games. That'd be great to teach your kids.
Oh yeah, man, I cannot wait. Yeah, my kid, I think that's what you're about to ask. He's 9 months old now, so yeah, I can't wait. I already roll around with him in his playpen, pretending to do jiu-jitsu.
Perfect.
I would say now is the time that you can start lifting and kind of. I can send you videos of this, of how to do all this if you don't already do it. But lift and then rotate and sit them to their feet, pick them up and roll them and rotate and roll, put them in the mount, make them take you down.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what the truth is, as long as they just feel like my dad is happy.
Yep.
My dad is playing with me. And whatever we're doing, he's like thinking I'm doing the best in the world at it.
Yep.
So what is that? That's just a victory. And on top of a victory, playing with my dad and he loves it and he thinks I'm awesome. Win.
Yeah. Send me that for real. Cause yeah, that's awesome. I love that so much.
I will. As soon as we're done with this, I'll send you a couple of different. And Roger, you send me what you got doing the same thing, Gracie Games, and I'll show him. That's the most beneficial time. That some people would disagree. Some people would disagree, but I would say this is the most beneficial time you would spend with your child, other than if you are very religious and you're spending time with them in church, or if you've got a loved one that's passing away and you're spending time with them in that context. Otherwise, you playing jujitsu, the games with them, is the most important thing that you could possibly be doing. It's like your mission on earth, really. And the best thing is, it's going to work. He's going to love it.
Oh, for sure.
He's going to think you're the best jujitsu person that ever lived. He's going to think jujitsu, everybody does jujitsu. Like jujitsu, yeah, of course, everybody does jujitsu. And then one day he's going to find out, wait a minute, I got a superpower. I can just, if you say, go take that person to the ground and bend their arm and make them tap out. If you chose to do that, like I was going to say an attack dog, but just like hey, that kid right there is bullying that other kid, make them stop. Well, they can do it like that. because the Gracie Games prepare them for that. And they never knew for 1 second that they were fighting or learning to fight or anything about that. So it's the most rewarding payoff. It's almost like cinematic. It's beautiful, quite beautiful.
I love
We've
it.
we've had really good success with my kids.
Yeah.
We've tested them with Roger's kids, and everybody is as sharp as a freaking razor, just like we want them
That's
to be.
so
All the kids. So, and that's from nothing but Gracie combatives, no sport jiu-jitsu, just Gracie combatives, again and again and again, and they just heated into infinity.
And it started with the games. You start with the games, and then you get them into combatives, and then they're at where they're at now.
Yep.
That's so
Then you
cool.
just keep repeating.
That is so cool.
But,
And nobody gets injured ever.
never. That's actually something that I'm not sure what they say on those DVDs, but your number one job as the dad, as the bad guy, is to avoid them even bending their finger even a little bit. Because if they bend their finger a little bit, or if you put your weight down wrong one time, they'll never want to do it again. Not ever. Not one time again. So being so careful and expecting, you want not 50%. Don't expect them to get it half right. Expect them to just be there.
Mm-hmm.
And if they show up, perfect, you're doing great, you're doing excellent. So it's the truth. It's not like you're perfect, your technique is perfect. It's not perfect. You being here is perfect.
Yeah.
That's all we need.
What did you say the goal was? The goal is giggles. Like, how many giggles can you get in each class?
Yeah.
Not how good the technique is. It's how much fun.
Yeah. If I was to teach you this, I would say your goal when you teach this technique is to find out, literally count how many times you made your son or daughter giggle. Because every time they giggle, it's an indication that they're not depressed, not sad or let down or bored. They're enjoying what's going on. And if they giggle the whole time, and then all of a sudden you're like, okay, all right, time for bed, or one more technique and then we're done. And then they're like, no, come on, let's keep going. You got them. Then you got. So you play that game. Let me see how many times I get you to giggle. If it's 1 or 0, regroup, maybe message me or Roger.
Yeah.
Something is happening there that needs to be looked at.
Yeah.
It should be nothing but just ha 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 ha, just the whole time. But
And I've been through it all. Like, I've gone to focused on them getting the technique right and talk to you about Joey, and you were able to coach me through, like, oh, okay, do this instead of this. Don't have them worried about getting the technique right. Just have fun.
Yeah, number one, last thing from me. Number one, most important thing is that as a dad, as somebody that knows what you want from your kids, you want them to do jujitsu, to learn to protect themselves, to get better. Yeah, of course. If any of that has anything to do with it, you will create an expectation in your mind of what they should perform like. And your expectation will never be what you get from them. Because they don't expect anything. They expect to play a game with you. And if they knew that playing the game with you was like gonna be life and death in your mind, or that you're like, I am so judging this. This matters so much to me. That doesn't equal up to, we're playing a game.
Yeah.
We're just playing a game. So it just so happens in that game that we're gonna, okay, now I'm gonna fall. Now I'm gonna pull you on top. Now I'm only gonna do the thing if you do the technique right, but I'm gonna help you do it. And then, oh, good, yes, perfect. let you know where you got it right, help you down with it, and then tell you, wow, that was perfect. That's exactly the way that I want it. You did it exactly right. You did it exactly right. Like, he really hit on, you are doing great. This is for you. You are the best. Now, when I say the best, what do I mean? You come to class, you listen. I ask you to do the arm lock. You spin it around. You do the arm lock. I tap. It's like you've done jiu-jitsu for your whole life. If you want to be a champ, you're going to be a champ. It's the most fun that I have all day playing with you. And then you're out of there. Guess what they think? I want to play some more. I want to play again.
Yeah.
Play right now. I want to play. I want to hold my dad down. I can hold him down.
Yeah.
That's your goal.
I can't wait.
If your goal is anything to do with anything else,
Yeah.
pack it up and send it home. It's not going to work.
Yeah.
But if it just make them happy and play with them, I guarantee you, I promise you, they will love jiu-jitsu and they'll be very good at it. My daughter can hold down me sometimes. I'm, of course, big enough, brown belt, all that. I can technically escape. But she's like little freaking glue. I mean, she is like glued on where she needs to be. 6 years old.
Wow.
You should be able to just push her right off, but it's not so easy. So
that's wild. That's
but you'll get your son there in no time. I guarantee it. And then we'll let all our kids do a round robin roll.
Yeah.
Once they're familiar with.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
But Roger, anything else? Josh, anything else? Let's go in this order. Roger, anything to end the podcast?
Just keep us updated on the progress. Don't be a stranger.
Absolutely.
Anything from you, Josh?
Man, I just want to say thank you all so much. This is very unexpected, and I just really appreciate from deep in my heart y'all taking me under your wing like this. This is awesome. And I can tell y'all have like serious passion about jiu-jitsu. I can feel it. And I have already learned quite a bit actually from y'all's podcasts. And I imagine that as y'all keep going, I'm going to learn even more. And especially, if we're actually going to meet up and train together in person, I mean,
Sure.
that would be awesome.
Just pass it along. You're going to be in a position to share it.
Absolutely. 100% I will. 100%.
Yeah, there is and the last thing for me here, and then we'll call it a night. That right there is exactly the method that we go. Is that when I started teaching Roger, I said, now it's your obligation to turn around and pass it along to somebody else if you feel like their heart or their character is such that they're not going to squander it or they're going to use it for the good of mankind.
Mm-hmm.
Then pass it along. If you're going to do it, then do it right. Pass it along. So now Roger's telling you, one day it's going to be your responsibility to pass it along.
Mm-hmm.
So it won't be some folks would say it's a choice. And not everybody's a teacher. Not everybody, blah, blah, blah. Once you have the good jiu-jitsu, it is your job. You don't have to be a teacher, but find somebody that is in a kind of similar spot that you were. Find somebody that is on the verge of quitting because jiu-jitsu has led them down such a painful road. Find somebody that believes jiu-jitsu is not for them, but otherwise they love jiu-jitsu. You're looking for somebody that has the elements like you have, that you're taking your ass kickings and still sticking out the freaking classes. That person is somebody that will not leave when it gets hard, no matter how hard it gets. So it won't get any harder is the good news. That whole thing that already for you, that was way, way far and away the worst part. It'll never be anything like that again. So you've proven already your character is good to go. So now you just got to find somebody else in your years after blue belt that is also good to go. But let's see, anything else, Roger? Housekeeping stuff we got coming out in the next few weeks. Bobby Southworth episode. Did you watch the first season of The Ultimate Fighter, Josh?
If I did, it would have been a really long time ago.
And it would have probably been, you would have been maybe too young for it. How old are you?
29.
So let's see, this was 18 years ago. I guess you would have been 11. So maybe you could have watched some of it.
Maybe. I know my dad and I watched a lot of them growing up, but I don't remember if we saw the very first one.
Do you still have contact? Is your dad still around?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you should ask him. Does he remember somebody named Bobby Southworth? He was the villain, the big time villain in season 1. But we talked to Bobby. We did a podcast with Bobby, and we think we got to the bottom of it. And Bobby was just kind of portrayed a certain way, and he did say and do some things that were not cool. That he admitted that he shouldn't have done it, and they were not cool. But regardless, he's going to be on an upcoming show. Roger, we got a solo show. What else do we got? We got that episode.
I want to say we have like 3 or 4 that are still.
A couple of. I can't remember if we have any guests in any of those other than Bobby. Oh, we have Scott Phillips, the second one.
Yeah, Scott Phillips again.
That'll be an exciting. That was a really good one.
And you said that you had a podcast with Scott as well.
The what?
You checked out the episode with Scott?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. I don't know if you got him on your podcast as well.
No.
That maybe would be
maybe one day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, it would be awesome to talk to him for sure.
Oh, for sure, absolutely.
I would try to set that up. I'll try to set that up for sure.
All right, that would be awesome.
Yeah. But anything else, Roger, that people need to know about or hear about before we get off of here? Well, one thing, any way that folks can find you online or anything about you. Do you want to put anything out there, to say anything? Anything. I mean, I don't want to leave anything on the table here.
Yeah, sure. So one of the things that I really want to, show others as well is, through my story of getting hurt and still kind of sticking with it through trying to, at least, I'm trying to show that through Matt Dads as well. So you can check us out. We'll be on YouTube, hopefully on Spotify. We want to get about 4 or 5 episodes deep before we actually start releasing. So we have a nice backlog to kind of pad timing and everything like that. But we'll have our first episode out pretty soon. And, we talk about the struggles of fatherhood and the struggles of jiu-jitsu and what that looks like. And I plan, my plan is this time next year, I'm going to be a different person. I'm going to be much stronger than I am now. I'm going to be better physically, mentally, spiritually. And I'm going to try and document that journey, take every month, document that and kind of see where I'm at, so that other people who do and have struggled with jiu-jitsu, getting hurt in their first, class and throughout the beginning of their journey, I don't want that to be the end for me. And I don't want my jiu-jitsu career to end through, these injuries and everything of like that. And so I'm going to show not only myself, but I'm going to show everyone else that, there is there is a way to train jiu-jitsu safely, to not get injured, and to, you know, find success, whatever that success looks like for you, you know. So that's my personal goal with Matt Dads, and that's my personal goal with jiu-jitsu, and I hope to document that, you know, process. And yeah, you can check us out if you want. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, send us a link.
Yeah, we'll do. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, it sounds like an absolutely worthwhile cause, and we would love to be guests on there. So at some point, if y'all get us there, we're up for it for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, I appreciate that.
You bet, man. You bet. Anybody have anything else? Remember, we can edit things around. So if there's a weird part where we're like, no, for a minute here, it's no big deal.
Well,
And
I think it's a good spot to end it off on, guys. You guys have a good night, okay?
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you for calling, for talking to us, Josh. And we'll do it again. Okay.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. Seriously. Thank you.
You bet.
All right. Have a good night.
Good night.
Have a good one. All right, just us on now.
Is it for sure?
Yeah.
I always say, is it for sure?
That's on every single episode, pretty much.
Yeah.
One of these days, I'm gonna be like, oh, wait, no.
No, Scott Phillips is still on here, and he sees you, and he's so disappointed. I can see his face. It's like, yeah, he's just let down.
Hey, what was going on with the belt? You were just kind of like, oh, just showing off my brown belt.
It got tight. I was sitting on this little
Box of mixed cakes.
no, it's a little pillow, like a baby pillow, this thing. And because
I dig
of
the
the
green screen.
huh?
I dig the green screen.
Oh, good. Yeah. Hopefully you can put me somewhere cool. But just the way that I'm sitting, the belt, the knot right there was really bugging my belly. So I undid it, and I thought, if I want to put this beautiful brown belt anywhere, I'm going to put it right here.
Yeah.
Why not?
Why not?
It's like if I was a Navy SEAL, I'd be wearing that fucking trident. I mean,
Yeah.
I earned it, right? If I'm the real deal, and I earned it, and I know you didn't, or not you, but like I earned it, then I'm gonna wear it if I want to. I earned this belt, so if I want to wear it to Walmart, I can. I might get some sideways looks, but how do you think that the equipment worked out for us?
You know what? For a first attempt, awesome. You know, it's going to be like super choppy, but I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah. No, I think it's just attempt number 1, too.
Well, Gary Vee talks about like if you wait for things to be perfect, you're never going to do anything, and so
There you go.
perfect execution is better than, I guess, it'd be procrastination.
Well, that's Elio Gracie. That you just, when you get to a certain point, you bite your freaking teeth and go. You can't continue to just wait. At some point, you have to bite your teeth and go, and that's the only way to get the fight from A to B to C to D. Or, you know, if we're analogizing, to do whatever else the same way to get to the next step. But I think it went just fine, man. We started a little bit late, but that's
Yeah, I couldn't get the Discord to call you guys. I finally just gave up, and I was like, Noah, get over here, help me out.
And he fixed it.
Out. Yeah.
Well, hell yeah, man.
Because it's easy when you call one person, but whenever you're calling multiple, that's when it gets screwy.
Right. Well, either way, when you first talked to him, uh, was the first time that you said a word to him when he was on the screen with all three of us?
Yeah, I didn't talk to him at all before that.
Oh, wild.
I literally sent him a request and then added him, and then bam, he was there.
Oh, wow.
So,
And again, this is our first one like this, and I think we really did a pretty good job despite the complete unfamiliarity with it.
in post, I think it's going to be a pain to edit in all the video, but I mean, we'll see.
I want to be with like maybe some either on the red mat or with like all the background.
Oh, there you go.
You know what I mean? Like beginning of Terminator 2, where it's just like Terminators and something like that. That would be cool. Or you can put me on Mount Everest, or I don't really care.
What about Hawaii?
With Helson, or
Yeah, exactly. You're down the street from House.
yeah, I'm just like some random address, but I'm like, so Helson's right down here. He's not far. So, you jerk. The people are trying to argue with us about it. Yeah, he's close. Don't worry. But no, put me anywhere you want to. Here's the main thing that I was going to say, that I think this Josh guy is a worthy individual.
You definitely, I definitely see value in his character from what I've perceived. Especially that he's been injured pretty badly and he's still continuing.
Yep, from the limited interaction that we've had, I see nothing that would tell me I don't need to be teaching this guy or help.
But I would like to roll with him, though. I mean, you really learn a lot about a person by rolling. What if you roll with somebody? Say you meet somebody and you roll with them, and then maybe something unexpected happens when you roll with them.
Right. And that's a very big possibility.
I mean, what if we had rolled for the first time, and then I just decided to do something crazy, like
Poke my eyes or something.
yeah, poke your eyes, something crazy like that. It would be like, wait a minute, this guy is fighting dirty.
Yeah,
I'm offer to coach this guy.
I know you would have not been coached by me, and every chance that I got, I would have tried to do as much pain and damage and discontent as I could.
Oh yeah.
But I don't know how much that would be, but I would have a bunch of people helping me. So.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like I was getting some regular beatings already. So, but honestly, when I started, I was like, hey, I want to learn this. I really like this, and then I was like, man, this is more painful than I thought it was going to be. And what the heck am I doing? And then I was like, oh shoot, let me start training with this guy. And oh, okay, jiu-jitsu is for me. So it was like a roller coaster in the beginning, but then it like smoothed out real nice.
That's because you got lucky, and you could have missed that boat entirely. But
Easily.
that's our job now, is to keep people from missing the boat that are, it just sucks to say, like, worthy. Like, some people are not worthy of jiu-jitsu. Well, they're worthy. Everybody's worthy of jiu-jitsu, and everybody is worthwhile. So there are ways to motivate everybody. But some folks are really self-motivated, and I think there's nothing that you could do to make this guy, Josh.
Yeah, Josh self-motivated.
He's not going to fall out of jiu-jitsu. He's not going to quit. He'll make it as long as something crazy doesn't happen, like he moves to some part of the world that doesn't have jiu-jitsu, or uh, I can't even imagine. I fully believe that as long as he's around the right people, he will be a blue belt, purple belt, brown belt, black belt, right along with us.
Yeah.
So I'm not worried about it. But I am looking forward to watching his journey and playing as big a part as I can. So.
Oh yeah, we're always here to help him and those like him that have questions for us and man, I think specifically like talking more about the Gracie games and like starting combatives might be a cool thing to talk about. Some videos on that, some videos doing the different games. Would be cool. So this video series on that, as long as like we're consistently uploading, and especially these shorts. Like I forgot about that. You had a few videos that could be turned into shorts.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna read through those, and I got a whole bunch of clips that are like just need finalized and posted. And I feel like this week was probably as hard as it's going to get as far as my work schedule. So I kind of know what I can put out and what I can have ready within a week. So I'm gonna get a bunch out. I'm gonna get like 3 done tomorrow and 3 done on Sunday. But I want to have a bunch ready so we can release 3 Monday, Tuesday, every day of the week.
That's exactly what we need to do. So just
and whatever you can add to that, like the better.
I will. I've been working on some, and I can probably put 2 out at night, then maybe one tonight and one tomorrow, or 2 tomorrow. But we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
Either way, good episode. Good episode.
Okay.
We'll do it this way from now on.
Yeah. We just got to find a better screen recorder. So I'm going to check out that one that Josh suggested.
Yes. And get you a green screen.
Yeah, that's what I need. I need a green screen in the back. But I got a pretty cool setup here. So I have the computer rolling right now. I got my my ring light,
Heck yeah.
And it'd be
You
cool
got
to do
your,
a live stream.
Yeah, that's our next step.
Once we get to be streaming live, like literally like every like class with the kids could be live streamed, from both locations. Like anytime we're doing a class, just throw a camera and go live on Facebook.
Heck yeah.
Or go live on YouTube, just have it going. Boom.
I think we're getting more and more engagement, and sorry, I'm really thirsty. And it's showing, and our episodes are going to start to be more robust because the interest that's being shown to us is going to start being more and more of our material that we can use. So we just keep going down this
situation.
Yeah.
We turned it into a special episode.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are going to enjoy that. The buzzard's definitely going to enjoy it because he gets to hear his wiener story again.
Yeah. Man, that's crazy. That's a crazy story.
I guess I'm done with this thing too.
What?
The ring thing, the ring light.
Yeah, we're gonna call it right here.
Yeah, man, I think so. I think we have done all the damage we can do, my brother.